Hello everyone and welcome back to beautiful Herman Brothers Field in Palmer, Alaska. We are live in the valley once again. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Phillips, and we've got a good one for you today. As the Miners take on the Peninsula Oilers for the first time this season, it's going to be a good day of baseball, Charlie.
It'll be a get-right game, hopefully, for the Mat-Su Miners after their absolutely crazy game encounter with the Anchorage Bucks last night, which unfortunately ended in their first loss of the season.
Yeah, 19 combined runs in that game. Mat-Su made a late comeback effort after being down 3 runs, but just couldn't quite pull it out in the end. Perhaps things will be a little bit different today. Now let's take a look at some of the highlights from last night's game.
Welcome back to Herman Brothers Field in Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons on the call with you, and it's time to play some baseball. Yippee! It's the Mat-Su Miners and the Anchorage Bucks for the first time this season. We were originally supposed to meet the Bucks earlier on back on Wednesday, but that game got rained out, so we start off the season between these two here in Palmer. So we'll see if Duran can do something about that. His second at-bat for the Miners this season. This is a fly ball to right field, back towards the wall, and it's going to sit down in fair territory. A run's going to score. Duran will be taken out at second base, but a run will score for the Miners as it is Riker Scow coming home. RBI for Brandon Duran, and it's 1-0 Mat-Su here at home. That he was out of Sin City. Here's a chopper to the right side and unable to handle it for the moment as Ferry. A run's going to score. He does tag out Kelly, but the runner at third scores for Anchorage, and we are tied at 1 apiece. Pitch on the way. This is terrific catch. Runner comes home and will make it in time, and the Bucks have the lead on a sacrifice fly from Andrew Lamb.
If he could do the single part of that now, it would even up this game in the bottom of the fourth. Here comes the offering from Gurnia. That's into left field, hit well. That's going to drop for a base hit and roll all the way to the wall. Scow is going to score without incident, and trotting into second base with a stand-up double is Brandon Duran. The Miners are in business. They've tied it back up 2-2. This is a segment as that's on the ground through the hole in right field for a base hit, rounding third and going to try. No, he's going to slip and have to run back to third. Now there's a runner stuck in no man's land, and this is going to be a double play. No, did he sneak past? Oh, absolute chaos out on the base paths, and I think somehow nobody ended up getting out. Okay, I'm gonna reset that a little bit here. So what happened was, off the bat of Chase Wilcox, a single went into right field. Brandon Duran rounded third, was trying to score, but he slipped, and Kellen Strohmeyer didn't notice, so he was coming into third. They ended up at third at the same time. The throw came back into third, but Duran was able to dive in, and then Strohmeyer just kind of danced past the second baseman who was trying to cover, and no one else was covering second. And Yart can end it here, it being the inning, of course. That's hit weakly on the ground to third, scooping, throwing to first, but no play going to be made, and he wasn't paying attention. Got it to the catcher, but he wasn't able to hold on to the ball, so another run is going to score. That's in the dirt, stopped by Vaughn. Runner going to try to advance, but a better throw might have had him, and it got off the glove of Chase Wilcox, so a run is going to come around to score there. An unfortunate misplay by the third baseman, Chase Wilcox. That will be an unearned run, but a run nonetheless. A stolen base of third gets to fourth on the E5, and the Bucks have another run on the board. They trail now 6-3. Got jammed, hit on the infield to short, steps on second for one, on to first, but he throws it away. Oh, would have been an inning-ending double play, but instead 2 runs are going to come around to score, and now we've got some people confused on the base paths here, potentially. I think that was the runner who was going for second. That would have been Riley Hunsaker, who was running back down. I thought that maybe they were both going to end up at third base at the same time, so 2-run score. This is now a 6-5 ball game on a probably what should have been a double play, but a throwing error on the part of the shortstop, Don Patrizzi, results in 2 runs coming around, and Cole Carlon getting all the way to third. In future games, that one is hit up the middle to the shortstop, Patrizzi, a chance to atone, but he cannot. That one was a much harder play. Legging out that infield hit there was Eisenstadt, and the tying run thus comes into score. Cole Carlon, who was only there in the first place because of a Patrizzi error, now ties this game up 6-6. Payoff pitch from Luke Smith. That's hit into center field, going back on it, Drake Kerr, back, and that's going to drop down. That will score a run. The Anchorage Bucks take the lead. The throw comes into second, but not in time. A slide-in double for Will Burns, and it is a 7-6 ball game in favor of the visitors. Thrust into a much more consequential situation. That one gets away from Vaughn, and that will be another run. And advancing to first base on a wild pitch there was Andrew Lamb. So 8-6 now the score after a just disastrous top of the 6th inning for Matsu. And Kelly, the Bucks batted around last inning, so I was a little confused. That's hit well out to right field, going back, and that's going to be gone. A home run. Zane Kelly, the number 9 hitter in the Bucks rotation, just keeping the pain going on the part of the Anchorage Bucks. It is now 9-6 in the visiting team's favor.
To have their matchup. This is going to be a fair ball just inside the third base line. One run's going to score. The ball drifts all the way to the corner. The throw to third is not in time, and it's going to be a double. The Miners have brought it within 2 runs. That he does. Here's a high fly ball. The Miners have tied this game. The big 2-2. Here's a liner right into right field, and that's going to be a fair ball. A run's going to score. Zane Kelly comes up huge again, as it was Nick Ferry who was unable to handle that baseball. It barely even looked like it was fair, but the call was made by the first base umpire. It deflected off the glove of Ferry, and it's a 10-9 game with the Bucks on top. Oh, this ball has popped up towards shallow center field, drifting towards the infield, and the ball is caught by the second baseman Powell, and that will do it. The Anchorage Bucks and the Matsu Miners, their first loss of the season by a final score of 10-9 at Herman Brothers Field. A wild game, 19 combined runs, but this one belonged to the Pirates, and they make the Miners walk the plank today. But rest assured, there will be plenty more epic matches between these two foes.
All right, so some really exciting and dramatic highlights from last night's game. Now let's take a look at today's lineups, Charlie.
Yeah, it's not every day you get a 7-minute highlight reel to play in your post-game show, but here we go with the lineups for today. The Peninsula Oilers come to town with Petey Soto at shortstop, Cole Dawson at second base, Aiden Sullivan in right field, Kyle McDaniel in third base, Brock Worthgen doing the catching, Colin Robson out in center, Elijah Vogelsong, the designated hitter, Zachary Ferris at first, Bryce Berkey in left, and Jacob Tabor doing the pitching. This is a team playing their first game of the season here today, so we don't really know what to expect.
Yeah, kind of an unknown with Peninsula. Meanwhile, for the Matsu Miners, leading off will be Don Patrizzi in the DH spot today. Ryan Richard takes over the shortstop position. Then it's Nick Ferry at first base. Brandon Duran makes his start at catcher. Christian Perez will be at third base for the first time this season. Kyle McCausland will be in left field. Kellen Strohmeyer back in right field. It'll be Nick Bisaccia at second base today. Drake Kerr retains his spot in center field. And on the mound, the man from Nebraska, Ryan Harehill. That's the starting lineup for Matsu. And you see a couple of changes in the infield today, Charlie.
Yeah, there was some rough infield defense, particularly Don Patrizzi, who had been at the shortstop for the last couple games, had a couple errors in the last game. They're going to experiment with him at designated hitter and Ryan Richard taking over the spot in shortstop. Just some shuffling around in the early goings of the season here in the infield, just waiting for everybody to get their legs under them.
All right, we'll see how things work out today for the Miners and the Oilers. It's going to be a good game here at Herman Brothers Field, folks. We'll be right back. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube.
It's a beautiful day under the sun here in Palmer, Alaska, home of the Mat-Su Miners at Herman Brothers Field. It's time for the Mat-Su Miners to play host to the Peninsula Oilers here in Palmer. With Dylan Simmons, I'm Charlie Fellows, thrilled to bring you this action. And Dylan, let's get started right away with the visiting lineup of a team that's playing their first game of the entire season today. It's a roster filled with mystery. Let's meet some of the names.
Yes, sir. Mystery all the way around. Petey Soto leads off for the Peninsula Oilers. Then it goes Dawson, Sullivan, McDaniel, Worthgen, Robson, Vogelsong, Lewis, Ferris, and Berkey for Peninsula through the batting order in the lineup.
And they will all be facing off against the Mat-Su Miners men on the mound, which will be Ryan Harahill, a 6'4", 215 right-hander out of the University of Nebraska. only pitched a single inning this past season with the Cornhuskers and allowed enough runs to have an ERA of 27, which I don't know if you could do the math off the top of your head there, but I think, would that be 3 runs in 1/3 of an inning?
Yes, but obviously that's a bit inflated with that lone appearance and probably not a true reflection of his abilities. And here's a great place to prove just how good you are while you play for a Big Ten school. I'm sure we'll see that from Ryan Harrihill. We also might see Tucker Timmerman later on, the other Nebraska pitcher, but time will tell on that front.
There was some rough pitching performances last game against the Anchorage Bucks, the highlights of which you saw if you were watching the pregame show. It was a 7-minute highlight reel, and that was because the final score was 10-9, 19 combined runs, 10 of which, of course, allowed by the Mat-Su Miners pitchers. There were also a few errors in there, not all those were earned, but still not the best defensive performance. The defensive players for the Miners will look to get right here, and those players are Nick Ferry at first base, Nick Masaccia at second, Ryan Richard taking over at shortstop, Christian Perez at third, the outfield from left to right, Kyle McCausland, Drake Kerr, Kellen Strohmeyer, and Brandon Duran making his first start of the year behind the dish, doing the catching for Ryan Harrihill. Here's Petey Soto, and we're just about ready to get underway here on this lagless, hopefully, broadcast of Mat-Su Miners baseball. We've got the camera working. We've got the internet working. This should be a seamless viewing experience for all the viewers out there as Harrihill fires in a strike, and we're underway.
We talked about it yesterday. How will Mat-Su respond after that tough loss to Anchorage last night? I can tell you that there was some disappointment from this team, but they are motivated. They are ready tonight to take on the Oilers and hopefully get a win back here at home.
That's golf foul back out of play. Petey Soto, the leadoff man for Peninsula, a freshman out of Utah Tech, St. George, Utah. Hit .257, 3 home runs, 19 runs batted in out there with the Trailblazers this past offseason. That one goes over his head and all the way to the backstop. Soto had to duck under it. And you get the telltale shaking of the camera there that lets you know we're back in GoPro land here in Palmer. 2-2 coming from Harrihill. That one's left low to bring the count full.
We saw yesterday how defensive mistakes really cost Mat-Su that game against Anchorage, especially in that 5-run inning they gave up to the Bucks, and I'm sure that they're looking to correct that today. A lot of that comes back to pitching, not allowing those chances to happen. Big moment for Harrihill.
Payoff pitch is fouled away. Harrihill was the 58th ranked right-handed pitcher in the state of Nebraska, originally from Elkhorn, Nebraska. And he fires in strike 3. That'll be a strikeout looking to start things off. Petey Soto started walking towards first base, but he'll be called back. 1 away in the top of the first.
Good work by Harrihill to work that count full, and then a great job to stand in and fire in that strike against a very tough batter in Petey Soto. That's what Mat-Su needs to see more of, and Harrihill gets them started off the right way.
Looks and sounds great, we see in the chat. That is good to hear. Cole Dawson will stand in now. Out of Russellville, Arkansas, Arkansas Tech hit .250, 2 home runs, 28 runs batted in. Played some summer ball with the Edmonton Riverhawks last summer. Actually, that was the summer of 2022.
Yeah, out of the West Coast League, one of the bigger leagues down in the lower 48. Edmonton with a beautiful stadium, Remax Field. And, of course, they've got the Edmonton Oilers currently in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, I was going to say lower 48, not quite. That is Canada, still south
Canada.
of us.
Yes. Sorry, lower 48 and Canada. I know my geography, I swear. Going up to Alaska may have thrown me off a bit on that.
1-2 coming from Ryan Harrihill. And that's hit into right field. That'll drop for a base hit. Cole Dawson with the first hit of the game and the first hit of the season also for Peninsula. 1 on, 1 out.
Nice piece of hitting off the end of the bat. He found that gap in shallow right field in between the 4 and 3 hole. That's a great way to get things going for the Oilers, and got to establish a tempo early, especially on the road in this kind of environment. That's a great start for Peninsula.
Aiden Sullivan now going to dig in from upstate New York, Rye, New York. Attends Swarthmore College. He lays down a bunt that fouled all the way above the press box. Might have gotten another souvenir there. Sullivan hit .390 with 5 home runs, 29 runs batted in out at Swarthmore earned a D3 Baseball All-Region First Team honor, so an accomplished man at the bat with a man on here.
Yeah, he's one of a few players from that college on Peninsula. They have a lot of players from the same universities, and that can really help with chemistry, as we've talked about so much throughout this season. We'll see if that plays any role today for Peninsula.
Left that one outside, 1-2. Harrihill finding the strike zone so far early. He's already got a strikeout and allowed a single on a ball that found the zone as well, as a sigh of relief compared to the starts of the last couple games for the Miners.
Yeah, that's what the Miners want to see, is kind of a shutdown mode early on.
That'll be a swing and a miss for strikeout number 2. Harrihill making Oilers miss in the early goings here, 2 away.
Yeah, nice strikeout that time by Harrihill. Again, playing with confidence, and he does a really good job both with the breaking ball and the fastball. We saw him change it up a few times right there, and he did a great job of getting those 2 strikeouts. Now let's see if he can finish the job against McDaniel.
Kyle McDaniel ready to dig in. He is out of Utah Tech, and that ball's thrown down a second. Runner was going, and he is into second with a stolen base. I was looking away for a second, Dylan. Did Durand handle that pitch a little poorly, or was that just a clean steal?
No, he handled it pretty cleanly. It's just a matter of the throw being a little bit offline and Dawson able to capitalize. He's also got a lot of speed underneath him, and that helped him to take second base pretty easily.
Kyle McDaniel, as I said, out of Utah State, had his season-best performance against Grand Canyon, so Christian Perez, who we'll see soon enough on the Matsu side, is wary of McDaniel's bat. He had 3 hits in that game. Takes ball 1, or excuse me, that's ball 2, out of Pahrump, Nevada. Hit .271, 3 home runs, slugged .410. His favorite team is the Minnesota Twins. I wonder how that happens out in Nevada.
If you ask me, that's a team that sometimes you end up rooting for just because of something you saw as a kid. I did the same thing with the Green Bay Packers and the Boston Celtics, despite being from Tennessee.
Well, I'm on board with one of those. 2-1 come from Harrihill. Celtics playing today. In fact, they're going to start playing in a couple hours. We're happy to have this early start time so we can go home and watch that. Dropped it just low. Want to shout out 100 concurrent viewers we had it a minute ago. Triple digits. We haven't had that since opening day. So happy to see all of you. 3-1 coming from Harrihill.
For those watching from Kenai, happy to have you along as well. The Oilers had to take quite a trip up here. It's about 4 hours north to Palmer, so it's a heck of a journey, and they are certainly going to potentially be feeling that in this game, but you can tell they're motivated and ready to play today.
We'll be making that trip in a couple weeks. Very excited for it. We'll be playing a 5-game set against the Oilers. Here's a 3-1, and that's going to be ball 4, so runners on first and second here with 2 outs.
Yeah, this is the flip side of sometimes having that consistency early on. Harrihill off to a good start with 2 strikeouts, but we also saw yesterday how walks and hit-by pitches really affected Matsu, something that they were trying to avoid with the pitching staff today, and Harrihill issuing one there. So we'll have to see if that is more of an anomaly or a trend throughout the rest of this game.
He's trying to paint the corners. He'll try and do it on a strikeout here against Brock Wertjen, the catcher for Peninsula out of Corona, California. Cal Baptist did not play a season ago. He was a redshirt freshman, and now Brandon Durand is going to come out to talk with Harrihill. Wertjen was born in Long Beach, raised in Corona. His father, Phil Wertjen, had a lengthy career in Major League Baseball. He played for the Angels, Padres, and Rangers, among other teams. Brock led his Lutheran High School squad to a Trinity League title, was ranked the number 62 catcher in California out of high school. Did not get any action with the Lancers down there at Cal Baptist, but auditioning for a spot here perhaps. A swing and a miss. He's down 0-2 now to Harrihill.
Yeah, one of the phenomenal freshmen on this Peninsula team. A very young squad overall. There's a lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores on this roster, but sometimes that youth can be just what you need in this situation.
And that is strike 3. Or actually, no, they're going to say strike 2. The scoreboard was wrong on that one. So 0-2 now is the count. Apologies there. 2 on, 2 out. 0-2 coming from the Nebraska hurler. Runners both go. That's high for a ball. Throw comes into second. It's high and it goes into the outfield. So this is going to score a run for the second straight game. A run is going to score in the top of the first inning against the Mat-Su Miners. Coming around was Cole Dawson on a botched pickoff attempt by Brandon Duran. It's 1-0 Peninsula.
Yeah, that throw was just a little bit high, and we saw how Bisaccia was trying to come down with it, but we've seen that a couple times now from Duran. The throw just a little bit off the mark, and it cost Mat-Su a run here. Very costly mistake early on, and again, the Oilers capitalize.
This is the first start at catcher of the season for Brandon Duran. He's given Logan Vaughn the day off, and some growing pains early. Here comes the 1-2 to Wertjen with a runner on first now, and he gets out off the end of the bat, hits that into right center field. Getting under it is Strohmeyer, and he'll make the catch to retire the side, but not before the Oilers strike first. For the second straight game, the Miners find themselves in an early 1-0 hole. We'll have the bottom of the first coming right up. You're watching the Mat-Su Miners here on YouTube. About ready to get started with the bottom of the first chance for the Miners to bat after finding themselves in an early hole here in the friendly confines of Herman Brothers Field. And what's the order they'll be doing it, Dylan?
Well, Don Patrizi's going to lead off for Mat-Su today in the DH spot. Then it's Ryan Richard at short, Nick Ferry, Brandon Duran, Christian Perez, Kyle McCausland, Kellen Bisaccia, and Drake Kerr rounds them out as the 9-hole hitter for the Mat-Su Miners here today, facing a 1-0 deficit as we enter the bottom half of the first.
Brandon Duran, a name to look out for. He had a monster game last time out, 2 doubles and a single. Did everything in his power to help the Miners complete that comeback win against the Anchorage Bucks, but it was in vain. The defense that will be facing off those hitters, Zachary Ferris at first, Cole Dawson at second, Petey Soto at short, Kyle McDaniel at third. The outfield for the Oilers from left to right, Bryce Berkey, Colin Robson, and Aiden Sullivan, and Brock Wertjen doing the catching for Jacob Tabor, who is a left-hander on the mound for Peninsula, 6'4", a lefty from Toledo University out of Galena, Ohio, another freshman, but he actually got some action out at Toledo. The Rockets had a 3.35 ERA, 39 strikeouts, and 37 2/3 innings. All of those were out of the bullpen, but still a strong performance in his freshman year. He's going to try and transition to more of a starter role, and he'll get his first crack at that in the opening day action today.
Yeah, I was just about to say he was used as a reliever out of the bullpen for Toledo, so how will he transition into this starting role? And again, another lefty. We've seen a lot of those here at Herman Brothers Field in the early part of the season. Let's see how he will handle this Mat-Su lineup.
Starts off Patrizzi with a strike. Interesting story as to why that is. There's a little gap in the batter's eye. I don't know if you can look at it with our GoPro feed between the mountains and the trees. There's a little gap in the trees that it happens to line up just perfectly with where the ball is released from a left-handed pitcher's arm, so it makes it tough to track the ball. We were talking to General Manager Pete Christopher about that a couple days ago. It was why the Anchorage Glacier Pilots used 3 pitchers that were all left-handers in opening day here at Herman Brothers Field. It's a strategy decision that now the Oilers, it appears, are employing as well.
Yes, they are, and it's been kind of a mixed bag against the Mat-Su Miners. Sometimes they can handle it, sometimes it's been a bit tougher. So we'll see if the Miners have any different strategy today as a team when it comes to hitting against these Oilers.
That one's left outside 2-2. I see some Peninsula Oilers fans in the chat here. We're always happy to have all of you. You're enjoying the lead right now. Don Patrizzi trying to reverse that trend just a little bit. 2-2 coming from Jacob Tabor. Into right field. Ranging on is Aiden Sullivan, and he'll make the grab for the first out.
I like the distance that ball went, though, that time from Patrizi. Got a lot underneath it, just not quite enough to leave the yard. But Mat-Su, if they're going to win this game, needs those solid extra base hits, those game-changing plays, and that's a good start from Patrizi. Maybe a sign of things to come.
That will bring up Ryan Richard with Riker Scow out of the lineup today. Richard takes over in the 2 spot. He's been one of the hottest hitters for Mat-Su so far this season.
You could argue he's been the best overall when it comes to his productivity. Time and time again, he has answered the call for Mat-Su.
Got a shade under 150 concurrent viewers, which blows our record out of the water so far this season. I guess that's good to note, Dylan. The Oilers do not mess around when it comes to watching these streams.
They do not, and I love it. Welcome aboard, and happy to have you today.
1-0 on Richard is low out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Played for Baton Rouge Community College this year, looking to attend the University of Louisiana Lafayette in the fall. Hit .245 with 4 home runs and 23 runs batted in, in community college play. He's behind in the count 1-2 now to Tabor.
And he did force 2 walks yesterday against Anchorage. Maybe something to keep an eye on today against the Oilers. That could be huge for Mat-Su. That almost looked like a hit-by pitch there for a second. That was close.
Laid off on a low slider. We do have a new addition to the broadcast room, a pitch tracking gun, a radar gun would be the proper way to call that. We're getting some readings here. We're not entirely sure if it's calibrated correctly because these pitching readings are in the low 80s. As that's hit on the ground to short. 93 was that pitch. Throwing across his body was Petey Soto, and he's able to connect for out number 2.
Yeah, pretty routine ground out that time, but a good sign early on. Berkey handles it over to Ferris, and that's a quick second out.
2 up, 2 down for Nick Ferry, the first baseman out of Seton Hall. Hit .183 with 8 runs batted in for the Pirates his sophomore year, originally from Flemington, New Jersey. Had 11 hits, 2 of them in a game against Michigan State back on February the 17th. Appeared in 26 games for the Pirates, looking to break out into a larger role as a junior. And the Alaska Baseball League can make that happen if you deliver, which so far he has.
He absolutely has, and he's been especially good on the defensive side. His plays at first base have been immaculate so far this season. One of the most reliable defenders for Mat-Su, and that's what they need, especially on the infield defense.
Hits that into center field. Colin Robson is going to track it down. That actually, the second baseman had to call for it. Cole Dawson. That was going to drop into no man's land, but the catch is made. Out number 3. 1-2-3 they go in the bottom of the first. The Peninsula Oilers take a 1-0 lead into the second frame. You're watching the Mat-Su Miners here on YouTube. To the second inning now under the beautiful summer sun here in the Mat-Su Valley. Just a perfect day for baseball, but so far not a perfect day for the Mat-Su Miners. They allowed a run in the opening frame. Going to try and do better, will Ryan Harrahill, to keep the Oilers off the scoreboard here in the second, and the 3 he'll have to face are Colin Robson, Elijah Vogelsong Lewis, and Zachary Ferris, batters 6, 7, and 8 in the Oilers order.
You talked about the weather. We've had some tremendous weather so far in this weekend series all the way through. Ever since that Wednesday shower, it's been basically perfect weather here in the Valley, and that's what we love to see early on in this ABL season.
Absolutely. We heard from our host family that sometimes they get single-digit number of sunny days a year. We've already had 4 or 5 in this short time we've been in Alaska. Tonight is actually going to be the 1-week anniversary of when we first stepped off the plane here in Anchorage. It feels like a lifetime ago. But we're finally here, finally calling some baseball, and the Miners have a 2-1 record so far, trying to add to the win column. Colin Robson will take ball 1.
And as these two teams play, so do the Anchorage Glacier Pilots and the Anchorage Bucks. So there's going to be at least one 3-1 team in the ABL after today. Matsu hoping to join that party.
Those two are both 2-1. It's a 3-way tie atop the ABL standings. The Oilers, as I mentioned before, have yet to play a game this season. And Chugiak Eagle River off to an 0-3 start. Check swing. Appeal down to third base. He did not go around, so 2-1. Colin Robson out of Southlake, Texas, attends Rice, another freshman. He did not play this season. I think he's actually a rising freshman. If I have this correctly, he played at Southlake Carroll High School and is transferring to Rice in the fall. Was the 25th ranked outfielder in the state of Texas. So talk about an incredible opportunity to face collegiate competition before starting your season down there with the Owls. Full count here.
Yeah, that's a tremendous opportunity out of the Sun Belt Conference, and now trying to bring his stuff to the Alaska Baseball League. Let's see what he can do here against Harrihill.
Payoff pitch is outside, ball 4, so a leadoff walk to Colin Robson. We saw last game, there were a couple of leadoff walks that led to devastating innings for the Anchorage Bucks. There was that 5-run explosion in the 6th, and then the would-be game-winning run in the top of the 9th. Both of those scored as results of leadoff walks, so Miners potentially in a sticky spot here with Elijah Vogelsong Lewis coming up to the plate.
Junior out of Portsmouth, Ohio, played for Marshall this past season.
The Thundering Herd.
Out of good old West Virginia.
Had 2 hits against Coastal Carolina, drove in 5 runs against James Madison. Overall, he hit .222, 9 home runs, so a lot of power out of his bat. And that's a dangerous hitter lurking in the 7th spot in this order. He's got a man on and none out. And he hits that out to right center field. Not going to be a problem for Strohmeyer. He's under it, makes it the catch for out number 1.
Good work by Strohmeyer that time, adjusting to the baseball. It kind of drifted in midair, but he was able to come up with it pretty easily. That's a big out.
The last 3 games here at Herman Brothers Field have all had different start times. 6 o'clock on Friday, 4 o'clock p.m. Those are all Alaska time, of course, yesterday, and 2 p.m. start time here. So the sun is going to be at different parts of the sky for each of these games. A lot of differences for the outfielders to adjust to, but they've done a great job so far. Here's Zachary Ferris with 1 out and 1 on. Runner goes, and Brandon Duran's not even going to try this time, lest he risk throwing it into the outfield again. A stolen base for Robson, the 2nd steal already for Peninsula.
Yeah, I think Duran learned his lesson after that last throw. Don't try to force it in that situation because that could have been an absolute catastrophe, and who knows where Robson ends up if that ball goes into the outfield.
1-0 coming from Harrihill, who's already had to work in the early goings here. He hits that right at Strohmeyer. He barely even had to move. Looked like that might be trouble at first. Robson stays put at 2nd and 2 away.
Good work by Strohmeyer so far. That one was a bit easier. He kind of just had to stand there and let the ball fall underneath him. But sometimes with the sun in the sky, you lose track of the baseball, especially on a day like today. So good job of just locating it once again.
Here's the number 9 hitter now, Bryce Berkey, who is out of Cleveland State Community College in Knoxville, Tennessee, a place that Mr. Dylan Simmons is familiar with.
Not a Vols fan, though.
Outside for ball 1. Berkey had a .291 average, 1 home run, 28 runs batted in his junior season with Cleveland State Community College. Well, a season ago, he hit .361. So always a threat. These ABL rosters, we were talking about it before the game, all of these guys can hit. They're really there's not just a token player who's in there just as a fielder. The pitchers don't hit. All of the individual players in the lineup, no matter if you're the 2-1 Miners or the 0-3 Chugiak Eagle River Chinooks, there are no free outs on these rosters. 2-1 here from Harrihill.
That's the fun thing about it. There's so much talent in the ABL, and You probably already know this, folks, but there have been legends who have come out of this league. Guys like Barry Bonds, guys like Aaron Judge, guys like Adley Rutschman, some of the best players in the MLB history, and they've come here from Alaska.
2-1. Cutting a miss. Harrahill had a leadoff walk. So far, he has mitigated it, though. That runner ended up on second, but a pair of flyouts has got him one strike away from ending this frame. Petey Soto on deck, who struck out to open the game. Here comes the 2-2, and that's strike three. Just got the bottom corner of the zone, and Harrahill's got his third K already, ending the top of the second without any runs scoring. It'll be 1-0 Oilers. You're watching the Mat-Su Miners here on YouTube. Bottom of the second coming up here in the beautiful Mat-Su Valley. Peninsula Oilers with a 1-0 lead over the Mat-Su Miners in the early goings of their first game of the season, but they've got a tough test coming their way here in this second frame. Jacob Tabor has got his work cut out for him with Brandon Durand, Christian Perez, Kyle McCausland, three of the most dangerous hitters in this Mat-Su lineup. 4, 5, and 6 due up to bat. We'll see how he handles it.
Oh, yeah, you talked about dangerous. It's like Baker Mayfield says. They wake up feeling dangerous. And Brandon Durand, he had a big day yesterday, like you talked about. 2 RBIs, 2 hits, 2 runs, all that in 4 at-bats, and only struck out 1 time. So he is very, very good when it comes to plate appearances, and Mat-Su is going to need him to be that way today.
Durand, originally from Bryant University, is I believe Somerset, Massachusetts. Yep, hit .251, 11 home runs, 31 runs batted in. So we've only seen an inkling of the power that he has in his bat. Had 3 hits against UMass Lowell. Originally had committed to Kentucky, but instead chose to attend community college, Chipola College. Excuse me, that's not a community college. Before transferring to Bryant, he did not go around. Not sure what the first base umpire said. No, he did not. So 1-1, the count here.
Right now, the Glacier Pilots Bucks score, by the way, it is currently 2-0 in favor of the Bucks. So currently, one of the teams from Anchorage on top, and it's the team with the pirate logo.
The Bucks are dangerous.
Yes.
Coming into this season, we weren't sure exactly who the best team in Anchorage was going to be. Of course, the Glacier Pilots are the defending ABL champions, but that Bucks team certainly gave Mat-Su the business last night, and now the Pilots might be on the receiving end. They are not to be trifled with.
Absolutely not. And Mat-Su, they kind of feel like that game got away from them. They think that in a lot of ways they let the Bucks win that game with their own mistakes, and they are ready for a rematch whenever that day comes. But first things first, they got to take care of business today.
Hit high, pop up into foul territory, and that's going to be caught by the catcher, Brock Wertjen, for out number 1. Wasn't sure exactly where that was going to land, but he was able to track it. A lucky break for the Miners, or excuse me, for the Oilers, and there's 1 away. Now it will be Christian Perez out of Phoenix, Arizona, and Grand Canyon University. Hit 143, just 1 hit in a handful of at-bats with the Lopes this past season, 6'2", 225 pounds. Got that hit against Oregon on March 6th. So far, he's had a much larger opportunity as he cuts and misses at strike 1 to perform here in Matsu, and he has delivered.
He absolutely has. He's been a very solid player so far, worked as a DH in his first ever Matsu Miners game, and now he's getting his chance at third base today in the hot corner for Matsu, so we'll see what Perez has to offer.
It's an underrated aspect of all these games, especially for Perez. He just got off the plane a couple of days ago. All these players come after their college teams are eliminated from whatever postseason play they're in. They get on a plane and come right up to Anchorage, and a couple nights ago, Brandon Durant, actually, who just had a pinch hitting appearance the day he stepped off the plane. Chase Wilcox, another guy who started the same day he arrived. It's really impressive. You know, judging by how I felt after getting off that plane flying out of Boston, as he hits that into center field, stopped on a knee by the second baseman, but it's not going to be in time to get the out at first. It was a great play by Cole Dawson, but wasn't able to connect with the first baseman, so Christian Perez on with the first hit of the game for Matsu.
Yeah, that was a good effort by Dawson that time. He did everything he could to locate that baseball, but he caught it at such an odd angle on his knees that he really couldn't get up in time to throw it to Ferris, and that's what allowed Perez to get to first with a single, and Matsu gets their first hit of the game.
First base runner of the game as well. And now Kyle McCausland will try and make something happen with one away in the second. That pitch is in the dirt to him. McCausland out of Wellesley, Massachusetts. Middlebury College hit .327, 12 home runs, coming off of a record-setting 2023 season where he hit .429, set all kinds of hitting records at D3 Middlebury College, earned the NESCAC Player of the Year award. So pound for pound, perhaps the single most accomplished player on this Matsu roster, not that anybody's counting.
And that's against some high competition as well. He is just an exceptional baseball player, and he proves it time and time again.
Yeah, the NESCAC may be D3, but spoken from someone who is familiar with the teams that is in my neck of the woods. They are not to be trifled with.
One of the best outfielders and one of the best players overall in Division III. He set records for Middlebury, as we've talked so much about last season.
Hits all of that one out to left field, going back Bryce Berkey at the base of the wall, and he's able to make the catch. That ball just died in the air, fell down about 2 feet short of the wall, and that will be a loud out number 2.
Oh boy, I thought for a second that we were about to see our first Miners home run of the season. He hit that thing almost a Pioneer peak, but just couldn't get over the wall. And out number 2, now we'll see what Strohmeyer has in store.
Kellen Strohmeyer from the University of Iowa, redshirt freshman, hit .167 with just 1 run batted in after not seeing any action last year. He's been a dependable outfielder as that ball gets through Brock Wertjan, and on to second base without incident goes Christian Perez. A pass ball gets a man in scoring position with 2 outs here. Potential opportunity for Matsu to get onto the scoreboard.
Yeah, good recognition by Perez and a pretty easy stroll to second base. Now we'll see if Strohmeyer can potentially bring him in. One thing we've seen early on from Matsu is their ability to get big hits against Tabor. They've gotten hits that have gone a pretty far distance. If they can get a few in the gap, they'll have a real opportunity to, in my words, dominate this game.
Tabor's 0-1. Left that one high. Miners in the early goings this season, the offense has not been the problem. They have scored 8, 9, and 9 runs in their first 3 games, but still on the wrong end of a crazy loss last night, as that is a cut and a miss for Strohmeyer, 2-2.
Yeah, and one thing about Matsu is that they really don't turn on the jets, so to speak, until later on in the game. The offense has had issues in the early innings of really all 3 games, so I'm curious to see if that's going to change today or if it's going to be the middle innings that are, again, the wake-up time.
Swing and a miss. That will be strike number 2 once again. We're having some issues with the scoreboard out there. 2-2 for real this time.
Strohmeyer was a bit more silent last night, or excuse me, McCausland was a bit more silent last night, as he was not even on the roster for Matsu, didn't play. So, getting back in the order today, trying to make something happen.
Now he works the count to full. Payoff pitch coming from Jacob Tabor with 2 down in the bottom of the second. He left that one outside, so a pair of base runners now in the second inning. The first walk issued by Tabor. Strohmeyer is aboard with 2 away.
Stepping up to the plate, number 20 out of Providence, New Jersey, Seton Hall, your second baseman, Nick Bisaccia.
Nick Bisaccia will bat now, the 8th man in this lineup. Another New Jersey native, another Seton Hall player. Did not see any action last season. He and Nick Ferry, Pirate teammates, now teammates with the Miners. Get his first chance to dig in against Jacob Tabor. The Miners potentially in business here with 2 down. First pitch left high. Apologies for that. Just doing a little bit of tech work, and now there's a meeting on the mound. Wertjan and Tabor talking things over as the latter has fallen behind 2-0 in the count to Mr. Nick Bisaccia.
We have Bisaccia with a 2-0 count here. And again, Matsu, this is the best position they've been in to tie this game early on. And can they get out of that early inning slump? We know what Bisaccia is capable of. One of the solid hitters for Matsu this season. Need a gapper shot right here.
Just laid off that one, but it is a strike, 2-2. Tabor 1 strike away from escaping.
These two teams met 8 recorded times last year, and they were pretty even for the most part, although Matsu did get the better of Peninsula overall 5-3. But the Oilers had a pretty good stretch to end last year. They went 6-4 in their final 10 games, and if you Miners fans remember, they played each other in the semifinal round of the ABL Championships. Matsu won the series 2-1, but the Oilers did chip a game away from Matsu here at Herman Brothers Field in game number 2, by a score of 5-4. So these two teams, plenty of history.
That's just outside to bring the count to full. A reminder for those who aren't familiar with the ABL, the playoff formats go 1-1-1 in terms of who is acting as the home team, but since the distances in Alaska are so great, all 3 games, if necessary, are played at the higher seeds ballpark. So that is why the Miners lost in 2 games at Herman Brothers Field in the ABL Championship last year. Both runners go, and that is going to be ball 4. Jacob Tabor is not happy about it, but that's going to load the bases. 2 straight walks, and Drake Kerr, the number 9 hitter, has a chance to do some real damage in the early goings of this game.
And we know just how good Drake Kerr can be. We've seen it time and time again this season. Yesterday for Matsu, we saw Kerr have a 2 RBI day once again, along with 1 hit and 3 at-bats. And I think you can see that the Oilers want to talk this thing over. They do not want to let this one slip away, because this could be the crucial juncture, the turning point, so to speak, in this game, where Matsu can bury an early hatchet in Peninsula.
Tabor definitely, I would imagine, is going to stay in the game. He was lights out in the first inning, didn't even allow any real contact, just a ground out, a pop out, and a fly out. Brandon Duran popped out to start this inning, but then a single, a fly out to advance the runner, and a pair of walks have this left-hander in some real trouble.
And here's the thing, Matsu has done most of this damage with 2 outs, so that is the calling card for Peninsula in this situation, is that there are 2 outs. You just need to get 1 to end this inning and get out of here with no runs scored. Matsu is going to have to get a shot into the gap or into a hole somewhere. That's the only thing that they can do to score a run. So if you're Peninsula, just play solid defense, watch for the baseball, and don't make a mistake.
Easier said than done, my friend.
That is
Here's
true.
Drake Kerr with 2 down. Here's the pitch. He hits that into left field. Looks like
Well, that is exactly what Matsu was looking for early on in this game, and they deliver that time with Drake Kerr. We've talked about him all season and his capabilities of getting shots into the outfield, and that is exactly what he just delivered for the Miners there, and a big change in this game to take a 2-1 lead.
Drake Kerr has been the hero time and time again for this Matsu team against Chugiak Eagle River. He was responsible for a lot of the runs batted in that game. And here he is now against Peninsula, the first couple of runs scored against the Oilers this season. And the way things are going here, it might not be the last as that one gets away from the catcher Wertjan, and down to second and third now go Bisaccia and Kerr. 1-0 count on Dom Patrizzi, who started this game by flying out to right. Playing in the DH spot after a couple of costly errors at shortstop last game out. He'll get more chances as the early goings of this game, but it was just a perfect storm of defensive lapses all around the infield that resulted in a number of unearned runs going against the Matsu Miners that resulted in them losing that game 10-9, and Patrizzi was at the center of a few of them, so he has a chance here to make up for it just a little bit with his bat. The 2-0. Big cut. And comes up empty.
And he was swinging pretty aggressively, and like we've talked about with Peninsula, Matsu's done most of their damage with 2 outs, so they're going to be kicking themselves after this, realizing that they could have potentially ended this inning earlier on than what it had. Sometimes it's those moments and those points in the game that can come back to haunt you.
Takes that one high, 3-1. Patrizzi ahead in the count.
That's why when there's an opportunity, you've got to find a way to get that final out at all costs, especially when you know that this Matsu offense can come alive.
Well, it's like you said, all this damage has come with 2 outs. Tabor's going to be kicking himself after allowing those 2 2-out walks that put him in this position. Now here's the 3-1. That's off the end of the bat, just foul. First base coach for the Miners had to move his head a little bit to avoid that. And that will bring the count to full.
This is going to be interesting to see how Patrizzi handles this pitch. I expect we'll see a fastball from Tabor in this situation. He'll just have to be ready for it.
He does indeed offer that, and Patrizzi spoils it. Back out of play. Stays alive here with 2 outs.
We've seen that mixture of pitches from Tabor in this game. The fastball, the changeup on occasion. That time it was right down the middle. Patrizzi with a pretty good shot on it. He's doing a good job of keeping this at-bat alive, and right now with these pitches in the zone, that's exactly what you need to do.
Another payoff pitch from the lefty. And that's outside. The third walk of the inning suffered by Jacob Tabor, and they're all loaded up once more with Ryan Richard coming to the plate. A 1-2-3 opening frame. Looked like Jacob Tabor was feeling it early, but having issues with command now. Ryan Richard grounded out to short in his first time up. The Louisiana man can inflict some more damage onto what has already been a nightmare inning for Jacob Tabor and the Oilers. And left that one outside, 1-0.
Yeah, and again, it's much like what we saw yesterday with Matsu, the self-inflicted mistakes from the mound. You cannot walk this many batters for either side because there's just too much potential for disaster in that situation. So you've just got to find a way to limit that. Boy, that thing was just foul. That was carrying far and deep into that right field corner. I thought for a second that it might even leave the yard, but just barely stayed in that time for Richard.
Yes, indeed, 1-1. I see the stuttering is back. We are aware of that. We're using our mobile hotspot to stream this game. The video is much smoother than it has been in the past as that's hit into center field. Colin Robson ranging over, and he's going to grab it for out number 3, but the Miners surge ahead. 2 runs off a 2-out, 2 RBI single by Drake Kerr. Give the home team their first lead of the game. We're going to head to the third now. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball. To the third inning we go. The Miners are able to strike and take the lead on a productive 2-out rally. They lead it 2-1 over the visiting Peninsula Oilers. Charlie Fellows and Dylan Simmons here as always, bringing you all some Mat-Su Miners action. As ready to dig in now for the second Soto, the top of the lineup back at the plate for another crack against Ryan Harrihill, and Soto hits that one into left field. That's going to drop down for a base hit. So Soto already seeing the leadoff single.
Yeah, it didn't take long. Soto was struck out his first time up to bat, but this time he delivers, and it's all like we've talked about with that second time around. Sometimes that's the key, and left field being challenged this time, and it was a great look by Soto, able to get it in front of McCausland.
We're aware the stream has been buffering quite a bit. Unfortunately, the hotspot is struggling at times, but the video quality is still much better than what it was last night, so I hope you'll forgive us. Here is Cole Dawson, who singled his first time up, came around to score the only Oilers run in the first inning. And Harrihill fires in a strike.
In perfectly, and he loves favoring that inside part of the zone, and that is exactly what he just used there. Nice fastball.
Shows bunt, lays down one, but it goes foul.
That would have been a heck of a punt if he could have laid it down correctly. For a second, I thought he did, right in front of the plate. Catcher probably would have been able to catch up with it in time, but still a heck of an effort by Dawson.
Want to shout out all the Peninsula Oilers viewers in the chat once again. Happy to have all of you with us. 0-2 decides to throw over to first instead. Cole Dawson out of Arkansas. Played for Montana State at Billings. As that ball goes off of Brandon Durand, it's going to give a free second base to Petey Soto. A wild pitch in the dirt. As I was saying, Montana State at Billings, my family has some roots in Bozeman, Montana, where Montana State, the flagship university of Montana State is. I've attended some games out there. It's a beautiful campus. Got a few cousins out there. Not been to Billings, but I hear it's very nice. 1-2 from Harrihill. That's hit into right. Strohmeyer giving chase, as well as the second baseman Bisaccia, and the latter makes the catch. One away.
Good work by Bisaccia that time. That baseball was up in the air for a while, but it was hit in a very odd location towards the right field line, so you had about 3 Miners going after it, Ferry, Bisaccia, and Strohmeyer. Bisaccia waves it off, says, "I've got it." That's good communication from your defense, and that's what you want to see if you're Mat-Su.
Aiden Sullivan, another Oilers batter, would like a mulligan against Harrihill. He struck out swinging his first time up. Harrihill's got 3 strikeouts in this game. 2 of them were the first 2 out of the first 3 batters he faced, and that time Sullivan just got plunked. So didn't even really get a chance, but he's on base, so a better outcome for him, even if it hurt a little bit more. So 2 men on with 1 away. Oilers wasting no time and hitting the Miners right back.
So we saw walks take place in the bottom of the second that helped the Miners, and now we're seeing hit by this time and walks by Harrihill in the top of the third. And it all comes back to consistent pitching. That's been a huge key in all these games, and we're seeing it here again. Keep an eye as well at the runners. Might go for a steal.
Cut and a miss there from Kyle McDaniel, who walked his first time up. As we mentioned before, the 2-man unit of Ryan Harrihill and Tucker Timmerman, the 2 Nebraska pitchers. Timmerman expected to come on in relief at some point this game. Another swing and a miss, 0-2.
And you wonder as well if Peninsula is going to try to exploit Mat-Su. We've seen Durand struggle with throws back towards the base, whether it be first, second, or third in this game. That may give them a bigger reason to try to steal, so that's going to be something to keep an eye on with 2 runners on base here.
The weather is beautiful, to answer your question in the chat. Very few clouds in the sky. It's about, let's see, mid-60s, mid-high 60s, which is about as warm as it gets here in the Mat-Su Valley.
Yeah, we had a bit of a wind deal last night. I've never seen wind quite like that in this area. It was pretty high up there. But thankfully, it's not quite the same today.
Stop made in the dirt by Brandon Duran. 2-2 count here on McDaniel. 2 on, 1 out. Also, grateful for the suggestion there on how to fix our hotspot issues. Trust me, we have tried every conceivable option to prevent the buffering. And if you weren't in the chat for the last couple games we've had, this is leaps and bounds better than what we have been doing. The Wi-Fi in-house, even with connected to an Ethernet cable, is not as fast as this. So we're going to try and upgrade our mobile hotspot soon and have this as a seamless broadcast. That's hit on the ground is short. On to second for 1. On to first. Not quite. No, we got him. A bang-bang play. The umpire took a second, but a double play to end the inning. The Oilers do not score a run here in the third inning. We go to the bottom of the third. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball here on YouTube. Bottom 3 here in Palmer. The Miners had a little bit of trouble. Oh, looks like the stream has gone down for just a second, but we're back. Sometimes that happens. Hopefully you didn't miss any action here. So far you haven't. 1-1 the count on Ferry.
And we saw how Mat-Su was able to capitalize on Peninsula Oilers' mistakes in the bottom half of the second inning for 2 runs, but early on we're seeing Tabor taking it right to Nick Ferry. This is the confidence that I think he needs to pitch with throughout the rest of this game.
Yeah, he was having trouble finding the strike zone last inning, which led to 3 walks and 2 runs. So a change in approach would do him some good. The 1-2. Cut and a miss. And there's a strikeout. No, he did just got a piece of it.
He barely got a piece of it. It was right off the bare end of that bat, but he was just able to find enough. Sometimes that's what you got to do to keep an at-bat alive. Even if it's not significant contact, it's better than getting struck out.
1-2. Got a piece of it again.
We've seen Ferry do this a few times this year. Just find a way to keep at-bats alive. Sometimes that can make you a very dangerous hitter if you're very patient with the at-bat. You don't have to rush things or force things. Just do what you can to keep it alive and force the pitcher into a mistake. And Ferry doing a very good job of that right now.
But his patience is not rewarded, as that will find the outside corner for strike 3. First strikeout for Jacob Tabor, and just the way he wanted to start off this third inning.
And we just talked about it, pitching with confidence, and that's exactly what Tabor did, and didn't back down from that situation. Ferry was trying to bait him just a little bit, but Tabor, not to be fooled, getting a big K early on, and that is a big first out here in the third.
Brandon Duran popped up to the catcher in foul territory to start the second inning. An inning which would later see 2 runs cross the plate for Mat-Su. Duran is one of the most terrifying hitters in this lineup. Made a rather meeble out last time. That's a comebacker right back to Tabor. throws to first, and that was a great play by the first baseman Ferris to get that in his glove and step on the plate, or excuse me, on the bag just for a millisecond before his momentum carried him off it. 2 down here in the third.
That was great recognition by Tabor that time to find that baseball. It was at an awkward angle. He had to come off the mound in a hurry, but he got his glove underneath it and then throws it to Ferris, who himself did a good job of just locating that baseball and staying on the bag. So that is a very difficult but big out for Peninsula.
Christian Perez now, who started that off with a single, and that's a line drive right to the pitcher. Blink and you'll miss it. That was one of the quicker half innings I've seen. Bottom of the third in the books, I should say. Mat-Su Miners with a 2-1 lead. It'll be Dylan Simmons now doing the play-by-play for the next 4 innings. You will get to hear from him right after this break. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball here on YouTube.
Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska in the beautiful Mat-Su Valley. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. There is a new man on the mound for the Miners here in the top half of the 4th inning. With them up 2-1, it is Noah Kendrick making his first appearance of the season, Charlie.
Out of Nederland, Texas, Sam Houston had an 18.00 ERA in just 4 innings pitched, so looking for some more experience here. 2.0 innings pitched against Baylor, had 1 strikeout in that game. Also matched up against schools like St. John's and Lamar, so some high leverage, high caliber competition. Out of Nederland High School, where he was a 2023 district first team all-district selection, was a third baseman and a pitcher, and ranked pretty highly out of the state of Texas in both. So an all-around, well-rounded player, and the Miners are lucky to have his services here.
Out of my home conference of Conference USA, always glad to see CUSA represented, as we will see Brock Worthgen step up to the plate here for the Oilers. It'll go Worthgen, Robson, and Vogelsong, 5, 6, 7.
I see somebody in the chat asking you, Dylan, I think you might have some perspective on this,
Yes.
where they can see just a stats-only live play-by-play of the game. Dylan, where can they find that?
Yeah, I've got some news for you. There is a great system called Presto Sports, and that's currently what we're using to score the game with. So in addition to calling the game, I'm actually scoring it with Presto Sports at the moment. And if you want to check a live play-by-play of just the stats, go on the Mat-Su Miners website, and you can find that as the game is currently taking place. Just click on the Oilers-Miners game for June 9th.
That'll be under the schedule tab.
As the count's going to go to 2-1 here. Pitch on the way from Kendrick. This is going to be a bouncing ball to short. Picked up and thrown by Richard to first. And nice play that time by Ferry to stay on the bag. Had to elevate himself, but he does get a big first out.
Nick Ferry had to use every bit of that 6'4" frame to stretch up and grab that ball out of the glove of the shortstop Richard, but it's good for a 6-3 putout.
Now we will see our next man up at the plate. It is Robson for Peninsula. Colin Robson, the outfielder from South Lake, Texas. We've talked about him a bit. Once the number 25 outfielder in the state of Texas, shows bunt here, pulls back, and that's ball 1.
Colin Robson walked to lead off the second inning, though nothing ultimately came of that. He did get a stolen base, but was
Here's
stranded
a
there.
fly ball into right field for a base hit. It got right into that gap, and he's going around. He wants second. The ball goes all the way towards the right field corner, and that's going to be a double for Colin Robson and Peninsula.
A great piece of hitting there. Just got past Kellen Strohmeyer out in right. It was a long run he had to take, and by the time he got the ball, Robson was practically already at second base. First hit allowed by Noah Kendrick.
So Robson delivers as Kendrick comes out, or rather comes into the game, and now we'll see a new man at the plate in Vogelsong Lewis. So that is not ideal for Noah Kendrick here early on. And now we will see if Vogelsong can deliver. One away here in the top of the fourth. This is a nice breaking ball, but cannot quite find the zone. It's ball one.
Elijah Vogelsong Lewis also flied out to right. Kellen Strohmeyer has been busy out there so far in this game.
So 1-0 count for Kendrick, keeping a close eye at Robson at second base. Here's a breaking ball for a strike. This time it lands in the zone, and the count evens, or rather goes to 0-2. Looks like we missed a strike there. So it's going to be an 0-2 count after that looking strike. Big pitch on the way from Kendrick. Pretty speedy with the pace, and he goes outside this time. Count will go to 1-2.
Now, even with a man on second, it's good you point that out. A lot of guys want to operate out of the stretch in a situation like this, but not Kendrick. He is focused entirely on the man at the plate.
And sometimes you have that pace, you don't want to get out of it. This time he does call time.
And just as he say it.
Yeah, of course. Announcer's jinx strikes again. Count is going to be 1-2 on this pitch. Vogelsong Lewis at the plate, the number 7 man in the order. Here's a fastball right down the middle. This is a bouncing ball that is going to be called foul by the home plate umpire. Looks like it bounced off of the plate.
Bounced right off of home plate. Yep, into fair territory, but that's still a foul ball. Good pickup there by the home plate umpire.
Yep, good recognition by him. So we're going to try it again. Again, a 1-2 count. Oilers wearing some nice black and red jerseys, if I do say so myself. They're a little bit too close to the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers for my comfort, but they are nice-looking jerseys.
They're the hated rivals of the Blue Raiders down in Middle
Back
Tennessee.
in Murfreesboro, you do not want to see anybody with a Western Kentucky shirt on. My dad, he bought a Western Kentucky shirt just to aggravate me when he went on a road trip, and I told him to throw it in the trash, man. Count goes to 1-2.
Not a fan of what was his name, that mascot they have?
It's, I believe, Big Red or
Big
something
Red,
like
that
that.
sounds about right.
Yeah. As that pitch goes inside for ball number 2. Yeah, it's an interesting rivalry. It's called the 100 Miles of Hate. And, you know, coming up here to Alaska, seeing the rivalries in the ABL, it's also been very entertaining. Of course, Anchorage, the Glacier Pilots and the Bucks have a big rivalry, and the Miners have their own set of rivals with the Glacier Pilots and Bucks, and also the Oilers and the Chinooks at times.
100 Miles of Hate. Now that must be really strong to have to come up with a name like that.
And there's a strikeout. There's a strong strikeout from Noah Kendrick. Also in Conference USA, he gets a looking strike on Vogelsong Lewis, and that's 2 out.
Now we'll bring up Zach Ferris, who also flied out to right in the second inning.
Let's see if we'll hop on the Ferris wheel as Ferris comes to the plate. Robson at second. And to answer your question about the rivalry and the name, yes, it is over 100 years old. It goes back a long time. The football rivalry is just about even at this point, as that pitch is low for ball 1.
It's funny, Syracuse doesn't really have any real two-way rivalries like that. You know, we hate Duke, we hate Louisville teams in basketball, but those are really more one-way things. You know, Duke has bigger things to worry about, like the University of North Carolina. We're just kind of a little brother to them. So we pick our grudges. Our sports teams haven't been super great these last couple of years, except for lacrosse. Lacrosse has some rivalries, actually.
Oh, yeah. Syracuse lacrosse is about as good as it gets.
Syracuse and Virginia hated lacrosse rivals Notre Dame as well. They just got the national championship after really what should have been an undefeated season. One of the most dominant teams in recent memory. The ACC lacrosse, no one better.
Nice breaking ball for a strike that time. The count goes to 2-1. And you see some of Kendrick's pitches have been a little bit low as of late. This one is right in the zone, and it's flown out to right field, but right there to make the catch is Strohmeyer, and that does it for the top of the fourth. So the Miners defense comes up huge. The score still 2-1. Miners on top. We'll be right back for the bottom of the fourth. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to beautiful Palmer, Alaska in the Mat-Su Valley. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows joining you for a Sunday afternoon matchup between the Mat-Su Miners and the Peninsula Oilers. It is 2-1 Miners on top, and they'll be up to bat starting off in this inning with Kyle McCausland. It'll go McCausland, Strohmeyer, and Nick Bisaccia, 6, 7, 8 in the order for Mat-Su.
McCausland had a flyout back in the second inning. He was the last man to bat before the chaos began. 2 straight walks and a 2-run single came directly after his plate appearance. He wants to get in on the action, I'm sure.
This is a fastball low from Tabor, who has been in the game, as you mentioned, the entire time for Peninsula. They have not made a pitching change yet, although there have been conversations at the mound already.
Also, someone is warming up in the bullpen. I'm going to try and get them for you.
Tabor is at 45 pitches, according to Presto Sports. So he's getting a bit up there in pitch count.
And Aaron Morris is going to be warming up. A right-hander out of Washington is warming up in the pen now.
This ball is lined out to right center field, and it sits down in the gap for a base hit. A bloop single to lead things off for Kyle McCausland here in the bottom of the fourth.
Sorry to talk over you, my friend. That's much more important than what I was talking about.
All good, all good.
Third hit surrendered by Jacob Tabor.
That is now, like you mentioned, the third hit for Mat-Su, so both teams now with 3 hits total in this game. It's been pretty good defensively on both sides, but whenever the hits have come, they've been very significant. Now it'll be Kellen Strohmeyer at the plate with McCausland at first.
Strohmeyer, as I mentioned, walked. Later came around to score in that second inning.
Here's a breaking ball that gets in for a strike. Count goes to 0-1. Just found the edge of the zone by Tabor, painted the outside corner. 0-1 coming up for the man in the number 19 jersey. Here's a bunt shown, but quickly pulling back is Strohmeyer, and the count evens at 1-1.
McCausland does have some wheels. The outfielder can run.
That he certainly can. We've seen it time and time again this season. Pretty big leadoff from first base at the moment. We'll keep an eye on that. Bunt shown again. This pitch is high and outside for ball 2.
It's a good way also to kind of psych out the pitcher. You see that bunt motion, and you're going to tweak your motion a little bit as you're throwing it. It's resulted in 2 straight pitches outside the zone.
Yeah, the pitcher has multiple things to keep up with in that case. Here's another attempted bunt, and that is going to be strike 2.
It's impressive the way he brought his bat down that he didn't foul that off. That was in the strike zone, and he didn't even make contact with it despite the bat being all the way across the zone.
I was about to say, I don't know how in the world that baseball didn't make contact with the bat. Almost looked like it just phased through or something. The 2-2. This ball fouled off towards left field. Count stays at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Looking around at the park, we've got a really decent crowd here. There are a lot of folks coming here after church. 2 p.m. start here in the Valley. Nice little Sunday afternoon activity to take the family out and watch Mat-Su. So far, they've liked what they've seen.
Runner goes. Here's the throw to second, and it's offline. So able to take second base is Kyle McCausland. It'll be a stolen base for him in the bottom of the 4th as the count moves full.
So much speed there from first to second. The throw was offline from Workgem, but even if it had been perfect, it probably would not have been enough.
It was a heck of an effort by Worthgen that time, as you mentioned, but it was just not quite in the right direction. We've seen that a few times today on both sides. So a big payoff pitch to Strohmeyer, and that is going to be ball number 4. Tried to paint the outside corner, and the mission is unsuccessful.
So that's always rough when you steal a base. You work that whole time to get to second, and then the guy just walks, and you would have ended up on second anyway. But that's still a stolen base in the stats for you. And speaking of live stats, I see another question in the chat here to see Presto Sports live during the game. If you head to the Matsu Miners schedule page on their website and click the little stats icon next to the game, it should say that it's live right now. You can see those stats as they go in.
Here's a bunt shown again. So Matsu trying to play some small ball here in the bottom of the 4th as the count goes to 1-0. Bisaccia showing bunt. Pulled back once again. Pitch a little bit low.
4 walks already by Jacob Tabor. A little bit of deja vu, but on the other side, last game it was the Miners that were having trouble.
Here comes the bunt. It's right down the third base line. The throw to first is off the bag and not in time. And Matsu's going to have the bases loaded. What a bunt by Bisaccia.
Just textbook stuff there. You put the pitcher in a tough position. Chasing the ball one way, has to throw the other way. He's not used to it. Did well for himself not to just throw it over the fence and into the parking lot. The first baseman was able to get it in his glove, but not well enough to step on the bag. So we're going to have bases loaded, nobody out. And guess who's at the bat? That would be Drake Kerr, the man who broke this game open last time. And just on cue, the Oilers are going to have a long chat about what to do here.
Yeah, I think Peninsula wants to make absolute certain that they do not bungle this situation, so to speak.
Can't bungle it. No bunglage here.
Absolutely. That is a term created by the good old broadcaster Myron Cope from the Pittsburgh Steelers, as that'll be the end of the day for Tabor. So we got off to a pretty good start, had limited Matsu fairly well, but just unable to keep Matsu from attacking here in the bottom of the 4th. And we'll see who the new man on the mound is in just a moment. But the Oilers trying to stay within striking distance in this game. However, there are no outs here in the bottom of the 4th, and that is a huge problem right now for Peninsula.
And that is indeed going to be Aaron Morris, a right-hander, freshman out of the University of Washington. Or, excuse me, out of Washington originally.
So Aaron Morris making his first appearance for Peninsula in 2024. He's going to be the first right-handed pitcher that Peninsula has seen this year.
Aaron Morris out of Utah Tech has a number of teammates on this Peninsula Oilers squad, originally from Washington, Utah. I had that a little bit wrong. Crimson Cliffs High School this past season. As a pitcher, he threw just 2 innings, I'm looking at the wrong thing here. He threw 32 innings, had an ERA of 3.09, so one of the steadfast members of that Trailblazers rotation. He's going to take his talents here to Oilers now in a crucial spot for the visitors.
Yes, he is, and this is, like we've talked about, a big moment for him, a big moment for Peninsula, because Matsu's got the bases loaded, and we've already seen in this game how they take advantage of opportunities when they arise. And Drake Kerr has been the man for the job time and time again this season, and he's already done that today, Charlie.
And I see now the messages in the chat that apparently the stats are not there on the website. We're just going to check that real quick to make sure that's working the way it should. I apologize for that. And indeed, we can see that the live stats button is not there. I'm not entirely sure why that would be. We're going to try and take advantage of this break in the action here to fix that as best we can.
And again, it's 2-1. Matsu on top of Peninsula. This is the bottom half of the 4th inning. And Matsu trying to take home a victory today. Move to 3-1 on the season, which would keep them tied atop the ABL standings.
Yeah, it looks like, unfortunately, we might not be able to change that in the middle of this game. We apologize. I think there was a setting we had to change before we started the live stats. Those stats will be in after the game, and you'll be able to see the play-by-play, but unfortunately, for the moment at least, we will not be able to get it to you during the action. We're going to work that out, and by the time we are back in the action, by the time the next time the Oilers play against the Miners, you all in the chat will be able to see that just fine.
And we will update stats as we can from our own scorekeeping as well.
I was going to say, for now, you're stuck with listening to us. Apologies for that one. Here is Drake Kerr, the man of the hour.
Yes, sir. Drake Kerr at the plate. We've talked so much about him. And now he's got another opportunity to strike for Matsu with the bases loaded and no outs. Let's see what the first pitch looks like here, as this one is fouled directly into the cage up above our GoPro. Count goes to 0-1.
GoPro luckily survived that. We've had a couple times this season where the ball will land very close to the camera and it'll shake for a while and then the display will be upside down. Someone's going to have to run out there and fix it. Luckily for us, we can stay sitting here and watch the action.
Another pitch by Morris, a fastball, and it's just fouled. And boy, the third base coach for Matsu had to move out of the way in a hurry. I believe that's Coach Ronnie Decker, who is like, get me out of here. I don't want this thing to hit me.
A couple strong pieces of contact here by Drake Kerr. See if Aaron Morris can do better against him than Tabor did.
Love the elusiveness by the coach that time. Count goes to 0-2. This one is along the third base line and fair. It's fair for Matsu. One run's going to score. The other one's coming around easily. And nope, hang on. They called it a foul ball.
That is ridiculous.
I do not understand that call. Coach Decker was egging on Matsu runners to come home. I thought for sure that was fair. Boy, I do not know.
The umpires are talking now. I think they're saying it went foul at first, like in the immediate batter's box, and then rolled back in. Because that definitely was fair, rolling across third base.
It must have been on that first hop where it was originally fouled.
That's the only explanation I can think of.
Otherwise, that looked pretty textbook to both of us, because I think we both thought, and Coach Decker thought it was fair. This is fouled again. And I will say this, a lot of these swings from Kerr and where the ball's ending up is very close to that third base line, so you could be mistaken for thinking it's a fair ball on a couple of these. Count goes to, or stays at 0-2 rather. But that is an incredible, I hate to say missed opportunity. It's just a bit of an unfortunate circumstance for Matsu, because that could have scored easily 2 or maybe even 3 runs. Throw to third is...
He's out.
In time to get him. They got the out. What a throw from Worthgen into the hot corner, and that is a big out for the Oilers.
That was just a clean pickoff, as textbook as it comes. Worthgen noticed he was off the base a little bit too far. By the time McCausland noticed, it was too late. Couldn't dive back in time. That is a back-breaking turn of events to go from what looked like a possible 2 or 3 run hit into losing the man at third base for the Miners. There is a real chance now that the Oilers could escape this inning unscathed.
This is going to be a fly ball deep to right field. Sullivan chasing after it. He makes the catch. Runners tag and go to third, and we will see runners in the corners for Matsu, but that is out number 2.
And just like I said, that would have been a run right there if McCausland was still on the bag. Kellen Strohmeyer now takes his place at third, with Nick Bisaccia hanging out at first still, but just a massive turn of events. Brock Worthgen single-handedly changing the course of this inning and quite possibly this game.
So Strohmeyer now into the hot corner. Bisaccia at first. Patrizi at the plate as we go back to the top of the order for Matsu. And like you've mentioned, Charlie, that was a huge chance for Matsu earlier on, and now it's 2 outs all of a sudden. And the margin for error for the Miners is a lot more narrow than it was. This pitch is inside on a fastball for ball 1.
Patrizi's flat out and walked so far in this game.
Patrizi trying to help send Strohmeyer home and hopefully advance Bisaccia as well. Player from Lehigh. Pitch on the way and inside for ball number 2. So a 2-0 count. Patrizi working as the designated hitter today for the first time this season. First 3 games of the year, he played as the shortstop, but in a bit of a new role as the Miners try to get everything in order. Want to make sure your team is as strong as possible, and Patrizi working out of that DH spot, trying to make some magic happen.
Not to say that Patrizzi can't play shortstop,
Right.
Of course. You want to stress again how amazing all these players are in the league. It's just getting used to a new position. He played primarily second base this season for the Mountain Hawks at Lehigh. They want him to move to shortstop. There's going to be some growing pains naturally involved in that, but when it comes to balancing that with getting a win last night, it could be argued that his play at shortstop was the reason.
Bisaccia goes for second. The throw is coming home, and Strohmeyer got there. The ball got away from the catcher, Worthgen, and coming around now is Bisaccia. He's going to score for Matsu. An unbelievable turn of events. The Miners up 4-1 on a couple of wild throws from Peninsula.
So that was a double steal. Kellen Strohmeyer steals home successfully on the textbook double steal with 2 outs to force the catcher to make a play, but then the throw is so wild. I don't know where it ended up, but wherever it was, it took Worthgen a while to locate it, and in that time, Bisaccia came all the way around from first to score on what was originally just a double steal. I don't think I've ever seen that.
That was one of the oddest plays you'd ever see, but Matsu able to capitalize, and now Patrizzi takes a walk. He's on to first base. Miners up 4-1 on the Oilers after that wild turn of events.
Yeah, it's a costly error there. I believe that was the second baseman for the Oilers, Cole Dawson, who had that errant throw, although I could be mistaken. It was whoever covered that steal attempt, threw it just into the backstop and gave Brock Worthgen a devil of a time trying to find it. So the Miners now up 4-1 on just a wild sequence of events. Now they're the beneficiaries of a couple of unearned runs.
Now it's Ryan Richard at the plate. It is Patrizzi at first. Matsu with a 3-run advantage. There's a swing and a miss, and the count will go to 0-1.
Ryan Richard, ground out and a fly out. He does not have a hit so far.
Unusual for him. He's usually very explosive as we see a throw to first. Boy, that might have gotten him out, and it did. Dom Patrizzi got a little bit greedy trying to go for second, right idea, but he just couldn't get back to first in time. And Worthgen again comes through big, but the Miners add 2 runs on a wild play here in the bottom of the 4th. They're up 3 runs on the Oilers. We'll be right back for the top of the 5th. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. Matsu Miners and Peninsula Oilers. And Matsu up 4-1 here in the top of the 5th as this ball is going to be popped up into shallow left center field. A few Miners down there. In fact, it's a crowd, and eventually it's captured by Drake Kerr in shallow center field for out 1.
That was Bryce Berkey, a 1 pitch at bat. And I'll bring up the top of the order once again. Petey Soto is struck out looking and singled.
So Soto is going to come on. Noah Kendrick still on the mound for Matsu. So far, so good. Able to limit the Oilers. And as we go back to the top of the order, as you mentioned, that means Petey Soto. Pitch on the way is just outside as it went just to the right of that outside corner.
Soto, the Utah Tech teammate of the man on the mound for Peninsula, who was pitching last inning.
1-0 count here. And you talked about Soto and his ability so far in this game. The Oilers offense has had its moments, but just hasn't been as consistent as Matsu's. And we saw the defense make a mistake in the bottom of the fourth, if you're just joining us, for Peninsula, as there was a wild throw from second base coming on home that allowed 2 runners to score in a wild turn of events. We've seen some chaotic plays this year, and that was another example of it. And now we'll see what Soto can do. Pitch from Kendrick, and that's a swing and a miss. So the count's going to move to 2-2 here in the top of the fifth. Swinging strike there with 1 away. Pitch on the way from Kendrick, fastball, and he got him. Struck him out looking, and once again, Noah Kendrick comes through. The freshman from Sam Houston is making some plays.
That's a massive play by Kendrick. 5 strikeouts overall in this game for Matsu. Just 1 walk, exactly what you wanted to see after that last game.
Out number 2 here in the top of the fifth. This pitch low, just above the plate and in the dirt. Ball number 1. This is Colin Dawson Robson at the plate. Or no, it is, excuse me, Dawson at the plate.
Cole Dawson.
Cole Dawson, yet so many C's, and you got Cole Dawson, Cole Wilson, Colin Robson on this roster. It's a lot to keep up with.
Lots of sons, yeah.
Yes, count goes to 2-0. As that pitch does find the zone, just on the outside portion for 2-1.
Cole Dawson has singled and popped out in this game.
The junior from Russellville, Arkansas, and Arkansas Tech. This is a fastball for a strike, and the count evens.
Visibly upset at that one was Dawson. Kendrick is really getting into a groove here.
That he is. It's maybe taking him an inning to really get warmed up, but now he is firing on all cylinders. That arm's getting hot at 2-2. This ball popped up into foul territory. It's going to be unplayable. Somebody in the crowd needs to go get that baseball. Count evens and stays at 2-2.
I have a feeling they'll be more than up for the challenge.
Got a few youngsters down there who would, I'm sure, love to get a souvenir prize. I can see them running around out there, and I think I see who got it.
We have a souvenir waiting for us up here. I saw while I was setting up the broadcast.
There's another strikeout. Sorry to interrupt you, partner, but Noah Kendrick has no time for waiting. Another strikeout to end the top of the fifth. This man is on fuego. We'll be right back for the bottom of the fifth. Miners up 4-1, trying to extend their lead. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. It's bottom of the fifth time here at Herman Brothers Field in the beautiful Matsu Valley. Looking out at Pioneer Peak on your left, one of the tallest peaks in this area. An iconic peak, Matanuska Peak behind us. And in front of us, it's Ryan Richard leading off for the Miners at the plate here in the bottom of the fifth. The Miners sitting on a 3-run lead against the Peninsula Oilers.
Mountain really puts the mat in Matsu Valley, you could say.
That it absolutely does. This is a beautiful area. This pitch is high for ball number 1.
Richard has grounded out and flied out. He was at the plate at the end of the last inning when, I don't think we really got to do it justice, but that inning featured 2 just straight up pickoffs off of the glove of Brock Wertgen, and then a third attempted pickoff that ended in disaster with 2 runs coming in to score. I don't know if I've ever seen an inning quite like that.
Yeah, that is the flip side of the coin, so to speak, for Wertgen. on that one attempted pickoff, as that's a looking strike for a 1-2 count. That throw really cost Peninsula in the end. It was the throw back to home plate that was the big decider whenever Strohmeyer was able to steal home. Bisaccia coming all the way from first to home plate in that play, as that pitch is well inside and gets away from the catcher Worthgen. Count is 2-2.
I want to shout out once again, we've been at a resting 130, 140 viewers concurrently live, which blows any other games we've done, including even opening day, out of the water. Just want to express our gratitude to all those Miners and Oilers fans alike in attendance. We're looking forward to heading down to Kenai later this year.
Yeah, the great salmon fishing down there. Looking forward to it. It's a beautiful area down there on the Kenai Peninsula. As that ball's inside, and I believe it actually is a hit-by pitch on Richard, and he's on to first. You can see him kind of grimace after that one.
Yeah, that hit him in a place where I don't think you'd be...
Oh, no, did it get him in that spot?
I thought it did at first. I don't think it did, because if it did, he would be on the ground right now. But the way he kind of buckled over immediately made me worried at first. But it was a hit-by pitch, and that's a leadoff base runner for the Miners, just what you want to see.
Nothing too serious for Richard. He'll scrape it off, but I'm sure he'll be feeling it tomorrow, wherever it ended up at. As we now have Nick Ferry at the plate for Matsu. Richard at first. No outs. Matsu currently with 4 total hits in this game. Check swing. Appeal to the third base umpire, and it's going to be called for ball number 1.
I will say, I just want to recognize that you finally remembered how to pronounce the word salmon. It's been a process.
It's been a complication from either salmon or salmon, as that ball's fouled off. I definitely have learned while being in Alaska, you've got to know how to pronounce salmon up here.
It's heartwarming to see.
Down in Tennessee, it's not as big of a thing, obviously, as it is up here in the last frontier. But trust me, folks, I have learned it in time.
Our first meal we had off the plane in our host family was some delicious salmon.
As the runner goes to second, the pitch gets away from Worthgen, and now going all the way to third is Richard being waved on, and he's going to take the hot corner, as that's a wild pitch that went way away from Worthgen.
He was going to probably steal second base anyway, but yeah, the wild pitch gets him to third. That's the second time we've seen Worthgen really struggle to find the ball back there. It's tough to see. The area immediately under the press box, it gets cut off for the camera. It's cut off for us too.
Yeah.
So we can't really see exactly what's going on there, but whatever it is, Worthgen has had some trouble. Of course, that wasn't his fault. The ball was about 3 feet over his head, but in any event, a runner on third and 0 outs.
And the infield coming up now, swing and a miss from Ferry, and the count will even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Nick Ferry, the first baseman for Matsu, batting third out of 9 in the order. Here's a ball popped up into foul territory. The third baseman racing after it in the gravel, and he can't come up with it. Might have lost that one in the sun, which is directly overhead Herman Brothers Field. But no dice that time for Peninsula and Kyle McDaniel.
He actually had the distance there. He covered the amount of ground he had to. It was just a couple feet off. I think it's exactly like you said. He lost it in the sun, and it dropped a couple feet next to him. He's just lucky that's a foul ball.
That's the best news for Peninsula. Ferry still at the plate. The 2-2, and it's outside. The count runs full for ball 3. Nick Ferry doing a good job. Once again, we talked about it so much, his ability to force at-bats that go a pretty good distance, and it wears down the pitcher and allows you to get more comfortable in the batter's box.
Aaron Morris, of course, threw that hit by pitch and now the wild pitch.
And now a swing and a miss, so again, Ferry able to work it to a full count, but again, he gets struck out, this time on a swinging strike, and that is going to be out number 1.
As I was about to say, though, he has been solid. He got put into the game against Drake Kerr back in that last inning, and he was on the mound when that craziness happened that resulted in 2 runs coming in to score, but that was not his fault. So he's done everything that the Oilers could have asked for him in relief of the ailing Jacob Tabor. Now here is Brandon Durand.
As that ball goes just outside, ball number 1, Brandon Durand back at the plate. The phenom from Bryant and Somerset, Massachusetts. Facing a 1-0 count here. This pitch well inside, almost at the knees of Durand for ball number 2. Had a 2 RBI night last night against the Bucks. But of course, Matsu just unable to pull that one out.
He had 2 doubles and a single in that game. He's 0 for 2 so far today.
This ball popped up right back towards the mound, and the catch is made easily by Morris. And that is one of the easiest out twos you'll ever see.
And it was just unlucky. He's made some really weak contact so far in this game. He's got a ground out to the pitcher, now a pop out to the pitcher, and a pop out and foul ground to the catcher. So really just has struggled to get the barrel of the bat on any of the balls thrown by the Oilers today.
Now Christian Perez comes to the plate with 2 outs for Matsu. Still got a runner in the hot corner here as that pitch is able to find the mark for strike 1.
Perez came around to score the first run of the game for Matsu on that single he hit. Also lined out to the pitcher to end the 3rd inning. That was a really unlucky turn of events, I recall. Pitcher barely even had to move. He was doing his follow-through, and the ball just teleported right into it.
The instant transmission right back to the mound on that one. And now Perez at the plate. He's going to ground this one right to first base, but it went through the legs of Ferris, and a run's going to score for Matsu. Can somebody say Bill Buckner?
Well, don't say that name with a Red Sox fan around, but yeah, just another back-breaking event, another unearned run on the part of the Matsu Miners. They're leading this game 5-1, but 3 of those runs were the result of errors. That time just got right through the first baseman, Zach Ferris, and now there's going to be a runner on with 2 outs, just going from bad to worse here.
So another error for the Oilers. That is their 4th overall in this game, and Perez able to capitalize. And now we'll see Matsu try to keep the tempo going as Richard comes in. And now we'll see if the Miners can take advantage of this with Perez at first.
McCausland is singled and flied out to left.
That pitch is inside for ball number 1. Count evens at 1 ball and 1 strike.
Another Massachusetts man, both of them on the Miners roster in the lineup today.
Pitch on the way from Morris. This ball is popped over right to third base. Throw to first is in time. Nice throw from Peninsula, and the third baseman McDaniel able to get a 5-3 put out to Ferris, and that does it. But Matsu able to score yet another run, 5-1, and we're on to the top of the 6th. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to the Matsu Valley. We're live at Herman Brothers Field. It's Miners and it's Oilers, and it's game number 1 of the season between these two ABL foes. And leading off in this frame for the Peninsula Oilers is Aiden Sullivan, the sophomore out of Rye, New York. Noah Kendrick still on the mound for the Miners. Pitch on the way from Kendrick, fastball, and it finds the zone for an 0-1 count. I'll tell you what, he is getting better and better with each passing pitch.
Kendrick really just looks comfortable out there on the mound. It's not something we've been able to see about a lot of the Miners pitchers we've seen so far. It's really been Hostetler and then him.
Grounded to Bisaccia. Throw to first is easily in time to Ferry, and that is a quick out 1.
Sullivan had been hit by a pitch and struck out, so he's now 0 for 2.
Kyle McDaniel will come on, who made a nice throw from third base over to Ferris at first base to end the bottom half of the 5th inning. And now he's at the plate for the Oilers in the top of the 6th.
The Miners doing something similar to what they did with the Glacier Pilots back on Friday. They have 5 runs and just 3 hits, and that is because of the 4 errors. They have more errors on the part of the other team than they do hits off of their own bats, and that has resulted in 3 of the 5 runs they have being unearned. So definitely not the start you want to see if you're the Oilers. It's a little unfair. They're playing their first game of the season against a team that's already played 3, but we've said it so many times on the broadcast before. Doesn't matter what state you're in, baseball is baseball.
Baseball is baseball, and Mat-Su, with their own motivation, trying to get to 3-1 on the season, stay atop the ABL standings alongside the winner of Glacier Pilots Bucks today, as that pitch does not quite find the zone, a little inside for ball 3. Taking a look at that game right now, latest update has it being at 7-0 Bucks in the bottom of the 7th. Wow.
I'm telling you, that team is real.
This ball is lined out and flown out into deep left field, and that's going to be an easy catch for Mat-Su and Kyle McCausland. That is 2 away.
Kendrick just doing what a relief pitcher needs to do, not throwing a ton of pitches, inducing weak contact, getting strikeouts when he needs to, but it's been a lot of ground outs, a lot of fly outs. He has been just everything that head coach Tyler Brunn could have asked for out of the bullpen.
And so now we will see Worthgen at the plate, who's had a pretty good day as the catcher.
I'd say a pretty eventful day.
Eventful day, if nothing else.
He himself has not made any errors. He's allowed a pass ball that let a run score, but he's more so been on the receiving end of a lot of ridiculous throws and had to do a lot of running around, which I can imagine is not super easy on a hot day like this wearing all that padding.
But he's made a couple of nice throws from home plate to get runners out in this game, so I'll give him credit for that, as that goes outside for ball number 2. But like you said, pretty eventful day. Maybe not a day that he'll want to necessarily remember, but if the Oilers were to come back and win this thing, then that wouldn't be too bad of a memory at all. So that's a looking strike 2.
2 pickoffs in 1 inning is nothing to sneeze at. He'll remember that one. Be sending that to his college coaches, perhaps.
And there's a strikeout for Kendrick. And the kid from Sam Houston is a phenomenal freshman once again. We're moving on to the bottom half of the 6th inning. The Miners are in command, up 5-1 on the Oilers. We'll be right back for the bottom of the 6th. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. We are live at Herman Brothers Field on a beautiful and gorgeous Sunday afternoon. Mat-Su up 5-1 on the Peninsula Oilers. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows joining you for today's broadcast. Austin Morris still on the mound, and now we'll see Kellen Strohmeyer at the plate. 7-8-9 to lead off for Mat-Su here in the bottom of the 6th.
Aaron Morris has been good. He's got a strikeout, a hit by pitch. That's it. He's not allowed a run, or at least an earned run.
This ball is pop fouled towards the left field line. Count goes to 0-1.
Kellen Strohmeyer's walked twice, also come around to score twice. He stole home on that crazy double steal an inning, or 2 innings rather, ago.
Morris with the pitch, and that is in there for a strike. Nice off speed that time. Count goes to 0-2.
It'll be 7-8-9 here. Strohmeyer and Bisaccia have drawn 3 walks between the two of them in their 4 plate appearances. And Kerr has a 2-run single, too. So, once again, the bottom of the lineup for these Miners producing.
Yeah, it's been the bottom in most of these games that has been the integral part of this order for Mat-Su. And like you mentioned, that is again taking place here today against Peninsula. It's always good to have weapons across the entire part of the order, no matter where you look. The 0-2 now for Strohmeyer, and there's a strikeout. Punch out for Morris, and it's the first out here in the bottom of the 6th. And I think Strohmeyer is a little beside himself about that one.
Had some words with the umpire for sure.
Didn't like the call.
You always hear the players talk after the game about who hosed who got what pitch called wrong, and typically over the course of a full game it evens itself out. And I'd say, given the fact that you're up 5-1 with 3 unearned runs to your name, not exactly the sturdiest ground to complain on.
Count goes to 1-0, but as we know about baseball players, they are not satisfied even if they've got that big lead. They want to make sure everything goes right.
I had a player after the opening day talk to me asking, as that's on the ground.
That's grounded out, and it's bobbled by the second baseman, and getting to first in time is Bisaccia. I was going to let that one play out because I thought for sure Dawson was going to be able to handle it, but he could not. That's going to be the 5th error of the day for the Oilers.
5, count them, 5 errors. When's the last time you saw any team commit 5 errors in the game? Maybe the Red Sox in the first month of the season, they were doing that a lot, but other than that, it's pretty rare. And now potentially another unearned run on the base paths, waiting for Drake Kerr to drive him in.
I have not seen that in a long, long time, and that is going to be something that Peninsula will definitely want to correct in the future. As Kerr is now at the plate, Bisaccia at first after that error, and this ball is going to be inside. I believe it made it contact. Yes, it did hit Kerr that time, and
he's in a lot of pain. Yeah.
So that's going to be a hit by pitch, but he is obviously in a little bit of pain here.
Not sure where that caught him. It might have been the way he's walking. It might be a knee or the inside of his leg. I'm not positive, but I hope he's all right because he has been an excellent contributor. Not that it matters if you're a contributor, whether or not we hope you're okay after you get hit by a ball. But Mat-Su would be in a rough spot if they had to pull him out of the game. Looks like he's going to stay in, though.
Good to see him stay in this game. That was a little bit scary. Anytime you see a player hobbling like that, it's never a good sight. So we go back to the top of the order with Dom Patrizzi here in the bottom of the 6th. Runners on first and second. Bisaccia via the error and Kerr via the hit by pitch.
It's the second man plunked by Aaron Morris so far. So control has not always been the best. He hasn't walked anybody yet, but could that be coming here?
Taking a look at second, firing in a pitch. This ball is fouled, and the count goes to 0-1.
Even since I mentioned it the last time, more and more people have started showing up. I see people down there with camp chairs along the left field line, out on the picnic tables. Everybody having a good time here in the Mat-Su Valley. Just a beautiful day. You can see it in the sky on the broadcast. That is what it looks like to us, too.
As the runners are going to go for second and third, the ball is bobbled. And that's going to be an easy trip to second and third for Kerr and Bisaccia as Worthgen unable to handle it.
It's funny, Worthgen has 2 pickoffs in this game, but still Mat-Su apparently thinks that they can run however much they want on him. He hasn't picked off anybody trying to steal. The 2 pickoffs Worthgen has are arguably much more difficult, which is throwing to a base where where a runner is already standing and just catching them asleep at the switch.
And there's a big strike. Nice one for Morris that time. Count goes to 1-2. That was a bit low in the zone, but it found its mark. So the 1-2 count for Dom Patrizzi, the designated hitter. Runners on second and third in scoring position. The 1-2. This ball is along the third base line and fair. 1 run's going to score. Here comes the second. The ball goes all the way near the corner. On to second now, and safe in time is Patrizzi. And like you mentioned, Charlie, they are in full command of this game. And we've talked about the 6th inning and how critical it's been in other games for Matsu, both against the Glacier Pilots and against the Chinooks. And here again, it's proving to be a big inning today as well.
Did have a bit of a stream hiccup there, so hopefully it didn't cut off perfectly for you all to not see what just happened. But in case it did, a two-run double off the bat of Dom Patrizzi has the Miners up. This should be 7-1 here in the bottom of the 6th.
7-1 Matsu lead. This is Richard at the plate, and he's going to swing and miss at this one. Count will go to 1-1. So a swinging strike there. Big moment for Dom Patrizzi, the DH. Still batting first in the order and doing a good job of it. One of the better doubles we've seen this season. So the 1-1 coming up. Pitch on the way, and again another swinging strike. Count goes to 1-2 strikes.
First extra base hit of the game for the Miners, and it came at a critical spot. And once again, Dylan, 7 runs in this game and counting. This offense is prolific. We have now seen it against every team in the ABL, and no one has been able to stop them from scoring at least 7.
They have scored no less than, like you mentioned, 7 runs in any game this season, and that's just taking into account today's game. I'm sure they're going to up that before this game's over. It's only the 6th inning. They've scored as many as 9 runs. This ball grounded right too short. Picked up, and oh no, he couldn't pick it up cleanly. Another mistake by a Peninsula Oiler defender. This time it's the shortstop, and Matsu's got runners in the corners.
Petey Soda, that's I would hesitate to give him an error there. They did it on the official scoreboard, but that was going to be a really rough play, even if he did get it. He was barehanding that ball and throwing it from the dirt. So
we'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one, and we'll call it a hit for Richard. Say he got a single.
And that will be the first hit allowed by Aaron Morris in that case.
This ball flown out towards right field, back towards that wall. It's deep and it's far, but it is caught by Robson. Runner's going to come home for Matsu, going back all the way now to first base, and getting back in time somehow is Richard.
Richard was dead to rights on that play. He had rounded second by the time he noticed that Colin Robson had caught the ball, had to run all the way back, and that is another error on the second baseman to not field that cleanly. He's able to run all the way back around the base paths, and no harm, no foul. Another run comes home, and now he's still on the base paths.
That was so bizarre to watch live because he was all the way near third base. He comes back towards second. He's got to run all the way around, and somehow he manages to get back to first. That was one of the oddest things I've ever seen. Basically ran a marathon to get back to the first base corner, but he made it in time.
I've never seen someone get caught so far off the base and been able to make it back. These Oilers are going to have to do a lot of fielding drills in their infield if they want to be ready for action in the coming days.
That pitch goes inside to Brandon Duran. The count is now a 1-1. Just a bizarre turn of events, but Matsu will take it.
Duran, the only player yet to reach base for the Miners. A bit of a reversal of form from how he was last game. But with Aaron Morris on the ropes now, this game slipping away from Peninsula, he's just there to close this inning out. Could be a chance for the Wellesley native. He's from Somerset, Massachusetts, all the same.
This ball is lifted high and deep to left center field, back towards Robson, and he is going to once again make the catch. So that does it. But another crazy inning in the bottom of the 6th. Matsu puts 3 runs on the board, and a very bizarre trip back to first for Ryan Richard, but a highlight for sure. Matsu up 8-1 here at home. We'll be back for the top of the 7th. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. Colin Robson at the plate. Noah Kendrick still on the mound. He's had a heck of a debut here, Charlie, so far. A number of strikeouts, playing some really good baseball. A bunch shown, and it's a low pitch for ball one.
4 of them to be exact. 4 strikeouts, 0 walks. Since he come into the game, he has allowed just 1 hit, a single to this very man, Colin Robson. Actually, that was a double off of the bat of Robson.
This ball is driven high and deep to right field, back towards the wall, and it is gone. A home run, a solo shot for Colin Robson to lead things off in the top half of the 7th inning. So the Oilers finding some oil deep down in the well, and it's an 8-2 ball game.
So Colin Robson has both of the hits that Noah Kendrick has allowed in this game. He got him for a double back in the 4th, and now a home run, the second one allowed by the Miners in this ballpark. They still haven't hit one yet, but could this possibly be the start of something here with only a few innings to go for the Oilers? We will see. Crazier comebacks have happened in the ABL season so far. We will say that.
That they certainly have. So we were just talking about how great of a day it's been for Kendrick, and then a home run is surrendered to Robson, and now the pitch is in there for a strike. So maybe that is an abnormality compared to what we're going to see the rest of the way through. Certainly been a good day so far outside of that.
The bottom 3 of the lineup for the Oilers are a combined of 6. Elijah Vogelsong Lewis has flied out to right and struck out looking.
That pitch is high but in for a strike, just caught the top of the zone, and the count goes to 1-2. Nice pitch by Kendrick. He has a very versatile set. He can go high, low, side to side, and it makes it very hard on anybody in the box to try to counter that. This pitch is driven into right field on a ground ball for a base hit. So another hit here for the Oilers. It's going to be a single for Vogelsong.
Well, we're singing his praises at the start of the inning, but just as we say it, some cracks beginning to appear in Noah Kendrick.
Well, Vogelsong's got the song of the single. On to first base he goes. So that will send on Ferris for Peninsula.
There is some action in the Miners' pen. Can't quite make out who it is, but if this continues, we'll likely be seeing a reliever coming in for the Miners just to make sure that things don't slip away and you don't see a colossal collapse the likes of what we saw last night against the Bucks.
Kiefer Matsu is just holding on to this lead. You're up by 7. Kendrick got to keep playing well as this ball is popped up and fouled. Count will quickly go to 0-2. And you know that Ben Dete and this coaching staff will be taking a close look to see if they think Kendrick has reached his limit. Didn't have a super long performance in his time at Sam Houston this past year.
That's Tyler LeBrun, the head coach of the Miners, and Steve Hecker, the pitching coach. Ben Dete, of course, part of the staff.
As that ball is into foul territory, quickly racing back and getting to, or rather staying at first base.
That he
Did
caught
he catch that?
That's out number 1, yep.
I didn't even see that. I lost it when I looked behind the window.
Popped out to the third baseman. Christian Perez made a nice play on that.
Okay, so nice work by Christian Perez. My apologies, folks. Missed that one. Trying to look behind the window for it. It was at such an odd angle, and now we'll see Berkey come in, so that is a big out number 1.
Yeah, sometimes you got to crane your neck around on the corners of these windows. You guys have a better view of the field than we do from the press box. We have to, I'm pantomiming it right now. Of course, you guys can't see it, but you have to move around a lot to see the action, and sometimes things get missed.
1-0 count here. This ball is a curveball for ball number 2, just a little bit high and outside.
Bryce Berkey is struck out looking and flied out to left. He had a 1-pitch at bat to lead off the 5th inning, which was the most dominant of Noah Kendrick's
Runner goes
outing.
here. The throw to second is in time. It looks like the ball got out of the hands. Wait a second. They're going to call him safe.
Yeah, it wasn't fielded cleanly by the second baseman. That was in time, but it didn't go right into his glove. That's brutal.
So that was a missed play by the shortstop Richard as he was trying to tag out Vogelsong. Looked like he had it for just a second, but I guess he dropped it or couldn't quite control it cleanly at the bag, and Vogelsong able to steal second.
They gave Bisacci an error for that, and I agree. He was not able to field that cleanly. That would have been a successful pickoff. Brandon Durand, after the disastrous pickoff attempt back in, I believe that was the first inning that led to a run scoring, did everything he could. So that'll bring up, well, Berkey will still be at the bat here, yeah.
This ball is flown out to shallow center, and saying he wants it and catching it is Nick Bisaccia easily, and that is 2 away.
That'll bring up the top of the order now for real this time. Petey Soto struck out twice and singled.
Petey Soto at the plate for Peninsula. They went 18-20 last year. As we said before, 6-4 in their final 10 games. They had a .253 average as a team. Pitching was one of their strong suits at 3.60 ERA and 243 strikeouts. Swing and a miss here, but so far today the defense has just not quite been up to last year's standards, at least in this early going.
The mother of Colin Robson, all the way from Texas, has left us a very nice chat message. We're always happy to see that.
As this one's going to get away from Durand. He kind of one-hopped into him and got away, so that's going to be a passed ball, and Vogelsong is into the hot corner.
Now the Oilers are making some noise here. They got a run, of course, to start this inning on the home run, and still got a massive mountain to climb, but the folks around here know a little bit about that, and they'll tell you it is possible as long as you dig your teeth in and just work for it. That's what Peninsula is trying to do here.
Never give up. That's the philosophy of a lot of people around here. And we've seen it since we got to Alaska. The courtesy of people in the last frontier is unmatched, and we've loved it every step of the way. And one thing I've seen, they love giving food. They love giving out food to you, and we've had some great Alaskan delicacies. The 1-2, this is lined foul just above the hot corner. Count will be 2 balls and 2 strikes.
You can speak firsthand to that generosity also. We had a bit of a misadventure earlier in the year. The designated broadcaster van that we are able to drive around Palmer broke down in the middle of an intersection while we were waiting for the team manager. Oh,
this ball flown out to left field. It's going to stay within the yard. McCausland back, and he'll make the catch for out number 3. And that does it for the top half of the 7th inning. Stretch time here in the Valley. Matsu up 8-2, but a home run scored by Gurchin for the Oilers, and we'll be right back after this break. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. You're taking a look at the beautiful Alaskan sky. The Matsu Miners up 8-2 on the Peninsula Oilers, and there's a new pitcher on the mound. Charlie, tell us a little about him.
Aaron Morris got into some trouble last inning, so now it's Seth Bower's turn, a Knoxville native out of Johnson University down in Tennessee, a 4.75 ERA, 36 strikeouts and 41 2/3 innings pitched, playing for the Royals down there. Had the 4th most innings pitched for them, and a top 5 ERA for that staff. I believe they're in Division II. So going to come on here and just eat some innings and keep the possibility of a miracle Oilers comeback all that much more alive. He'll be facing off against Perez, McCausland, and Strohmeyer here in the bottom of the 7th.
Christian Perez at the plate for Matsu. It'll be Perez, McCausland, and Strohmeyer, 5, 6, 7, leading off in this half inning. Bottom half of the 7th here in Palmer, Alaska. Swing and a miss, and that's going to be a quick swinging strike on Christian Perez, the man from Grand Canyon University in Phoenix, Arizona. From the hottest city in America to one of the colder cities in America, at least during the winter and summer months compared to the rest of the country. Count goes to 0-1. Or rather, state goes to 0-2. Pitch on the way. This is a chopper towards center field. Throw from second to first is not in time. A heck of an effort by Dawson, but he just couldn't get it to Ferris.
I actually think he might have been safe, or he might have been out on that one. That was an incredible play by Cole Dawson to throw across his body and get it to the first baseman in time, but Christian Perez legging it out, and an opening base runner in the 7th once again.
You know, it was a heck of an effort. I mean, Dawson was off balance that time, trying to throw from his back foot, and he just about got that thing in. As McCausland comes up, and he is going to just foul it off of the plate. Count goes to 0-1.
McCausland thus far, flied out, singled, and grounded out. He was picked off at third back in the 4th.
Peninsula trying to create a huge comeback win here on the road against the Mat-Su Miners. And, oh, boy, that hit him high. Looked like it was close towards the helmet area. Good to see that nothing serious goes wrong with McCausland. It's a hit by pitch, and he's on to first base.
It looked like it got him up in the shoulder area. I was really nervous for a second. I thought it might get him like in the neck, in that little area between the helmet and his shoulder.
Thankfully.
But luckily he's okay. Kellen Strohmeyer will bat now. He has scored twice, been walked, and struck out looking.
Yeah, thankfully nothing too serious taking place there. Now Strohmeyer at the plate, runners at first and second in Perez and McCausland. Pitch from Bower is high, for a ball. Count goes to 1-0.
Strohmeyer, if I recall, had some words with the home plate umpire after that led off an inning, which resulted in 3 runs coming in to score after him.
High fly ball deep to right field. Sullivan chasing after it, and he does indeed make the catch. Nice diving effort to lay out 1.
Excellent defense in the outfield by Aiden Sullivan. Got a read on it. Had to it wasn't really a dive so much as a kneel almost. Didn't really go anywhere just to get his glove in the right place. And he did so. That's the outfield fundamentals, and a big first out in the 7th here.
Nice effort by him. Now we will see Bisaccia on for Mat-Su. Perez in scoring position. Pitch on the way from Bower. And this is going to be a bouncing ball right too short. There's one out. The throw is not going to be in time, as it was Sullivan who was unable to get his footing correctly. So advancing to first on a fielder's choice will be Bisaccia. Perez is on to third, and McCausland out.
Yeah, they're not going to give him an error for that. That would have been tricky. Just had to kind of double clutch. Bisaccia getting the fielder's choice. So runners on the corners now as Christian Perez able to escape that unscathed. And it's going to be Drake Kerr again.
So Drake Kerr will come on now for Mat-Su.
Kerr having a chat with Worthgen, the catcher.
Yeah, just trying to see what they can figure out in this situation. Peninsula down 8-2 to Mat-Su at the moment, as time's been briefly called. Home plate umpire coming back into the area.
Kerr out of Vichy, Oklahoma. Texas A&M Corpus Christi hit .259, 12 runs batted in, and 37 hits overall for the Islanders his junior season. 3 of those hits came against Abilene Christian, had 4 RBIs in a game against Kansas back in February 20th, so that's a high-level opponent that he was able to make his mark against after transferring from Eastern Oklahoma State College, where he hit .352. Played summer ball in the Texas Collegiate League.
This is going to be a chopper left side. Throw is to first and in time. Nice throw by the third baseman McDaniel, and that does it for the bottom half of the 7th inning. So the Mat-Su Miners hold on to an 8-2 lead, but come up scoreless. Charlie Fellows will take you through the final 2 innings. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube.
To the 8th inning we go here in Palmer, Alaska. Charlie Fellows back on the mic with Dylan Simmons in the color role. He's going to get to talk in just a second, though, because after Noah Kendrick had a wonderful relief appearance, he allowed that home run last inning to Colin Robson, but other than that was largely spotless. He will yield the ball to a new man on the mound. Dylan, take it away.
Yeah, Tucker Timmerman on the mound, the other Nebraska Cornhusker on the team. Out of Beatrice, Nebraska, stands at 6'3", 220 pounds. A freshman, he had a season high of 2 2/3 innings pitched against Creighton back on April 2nd. 4 strikeouts against South Alabama as well on March the 10th. He was once the number 3 right-handed pitcher in Nebraska and had a .69 ERA as a senior. He is also the career record holder in ERA at Beatrice High School.
So as accomplished in every level of the sport, as so many of these players are, he'll get a chance against hitters 2, 3, and 4 in this Oilers lineup, Dawson, Sullivan, and McDaniel. As he's just getting loose here, and the time before the 8th inning is going to start. Dylan, I got to ask you, we haven't seen one yet, but we know it's coming. Who do you think is going to hit the first home run for the Miners this year?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's going to be somebody who can hit it far and deep, and we've seen a few players who are capable of that. I kind of think McCausland. I like Kyle McCausland. He's had some pretty good shots that have been close to the outfield wall. I think he just needs to get a bit more underneath it. Keep an eye on him. I think he's got an opportunity at some point throughout the rest of the season.
It's going to be, I think, McCausland and Durand, and that's not just New England bias. Those are the two most fearsome power hitters in their college careers coming into this season, at least based on their raw stats, and it would stand to reason that they are the biggest threats to do it. We will see it, and we will rejoice it when it comes, because it is coming. In the meantime, though, here's Cole Dawson, who takes a pitch low. He got a single in the first inning, but hasn't done much since. Popped out to second base and struck out looking.
And here's the great thing about that. The Matsu offense hasn't needed it. They've been so good in other areas that home runs have not been necessary yet. So when they do get that under their arsenal, imagine how good they could become.
That's incredible, actually, now that you mentioned that they have scored at least 8 runs in every game this season now for the 4th straight time, and they have not hit a single home run. A lot of that has been due to defensive mistakes on the other side for the other team, but not all of it. They've had some really well-timed hits, lots of singles, lots of excellent base running. Here's a 2-1 from Timmerman. That's in the dirt. Just an all-around offensive showcase here in the first opening week of the season. We'll see if that momentum can carry on.
We do have a final in the Bucks Glacier Pilots game. Bucks win 7-0. They blank their rival.
So the Glacier Pilots having a rough go of it. They got a win against the Bucks on opening day and a win against the ailing Chinooks, who have had trouble beating anybody so far. As here's the payoff pitch. That's going to be in there for strike 3. Throwing his bat there was Cole Dawson, but not so fast. You are down with a strikeout looking for the second time today. Tucker Timmerman's appearance starts strong, and that is going to be strikeout number 8 on the day for the Matsu Miners. Just a total about face, going from 9 walks last night against the Bucks to 8 strikeouts here today. Exactly the kind of turnaround that pitching coach Steve Hecker wanted to see.
Yeah, it was one of their biggest problems yesterday, like you mentioned, was the frequency of the walks. And today, you're doing a much more efficient job of controlling the baseball, not making as many mistakes from the mound, and Tucker Timmerman becoming a huge part of that with that opening strikeout. And I love the composure that he had on that full count. Went right for that fastball, brought it in. Huge K to open things up here in the top of the 8th.
2-0 count on Aiden Sullivan, who struck out, grounded out, and been hit by a pitch. In the waning innings of an 8-2 ball game. As I was saying, though, the Glacier Pilots, aside from those 2 games, they got handled. I believe that was 9-4 the final score was against the Miners here in the home opener.
Yes.
Got some cloud cover now, so the display might be a little bit darker. And, you know, that result is definitely not what you want to see at the hands of your crosstown rival. So they're going to have to figure some things out, as that is off the end of the bat. Stopped by the second baseman. Throws from sitting down. Oh, but he just beat it out. That would have been an incredible play from Bisaccia to Ferry, the Pirate connection, the Seton Hall teammates. Bisaccia made a diving stop. Ferry was on the bag when he caught it, but just a little too late. And Aiden Sullivan gets himself an infield hit.
Oh, man, he was basically on a seat that time, trying to make that throw from the ground. I thought for a second that he beat out Sullivan, but He just could not do it. Heck of an effort, though, and I love that we see that here in this game. Even when you're up 6 runs, never let the foot off the gas, and Matsu showing that here today in spades.
Now we'll bring up Kyle McDaniel, who has walked, grounded out, and flied out. And he takes strike 1 from Tucker Timmerman. It's been a strong pitching performance. The Oilers got a run in the first inning, and then aside from that one random home run, have done pretty much nothing since. They've only had a runner reach second base a handful of times. Meanwhile, the Miners' offense has done what it has done so far this season, just pour on those runs. And if all goes according to plan, they're 5 outs away from finalizing their 3rd win of the season. This is 0-2 on a foul ball off the bat of McDaniel.
Yeah, and it's been very consistent with their offense as well, right? They've had 2 runs in the 2nd, 2 runs in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, 3 in the 6th. So it hasn't all been at once, but it's been very consistent today. Not just one inning, a complete team performance across the boards in every part of this game. And that's what I think Matsu wants to see more of as this year progresses. Obviously, you like big innings, but you also like your team to be consistent all the way through. That means you play better and you don't hedge your bets at one point in the game.
Golfs that one foul back, 1-2. Apologize for the darkness here. The clouds have now gone over and obscured the sun, and the GoPro camera has a hard time between the contrast of the bright sky above and the green grass. So sometimes it'll either make the sky really bright or the field really dark, and right now it's chosen the latter. 2-2 from Timmerman to McDaniel. 1 away in the top of the 8th inning. Miners up 8-2.
Potential for a double play here if this ball grounds out to short or second, so keep an eye on that.
That'll be a strikeout instead. McDaniel goes down with his first K. So far, Tucker Timmerman has seen 3 batters and struck 2 of them out looking.
Yeah, great work by the Cornhusker that time. Again, great confidence from the mound. This time a bit lower on the pitch, but he puts it in right into the zone. Big strikeout.
Brock Worthgen is 0 for 3. A fly out to right, a ground out to short, and a strikeout looking. He'll get to face off against Tucker Timmerman for the first time. And he puts that on the ground to short, scooped by Richard. He'll throw on to second to get the force there and retire the side. Tucker Timmerman comes on and has a nice clean inning in relief. To the bottom of the 8th we go. The Miners hope this will be the last time they bat with an 8-2 lead in the final game of this homestand. You're watching the Miners here on YouTube. To the bottom of the 8th we go here in the Matsu Valley. Seth Bauer back on the mound for the Peninsula Oilers. Looking to face off against the top of the Miners rotation, Patrici, Richard, and Ferry, the top of the order, I should say. Potentially the last 3 batters to face off against a Peninsula pitcher here in this one, with Mat-Su having an 8-2 lead. Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons here as always, bringing you the final game of this, what has been an excellent homestand for the Miners. We've gotten to see these crowds firsthand, how the Mat-Su Valley turns out for their baseball team. We're going to have an off day tomorrow, and then we'll be on the road in Anchorage to take on the Glacier Pilots. Try and make it 2-0 against the team that foiled Mat-Su's title hopes a season ago. Here is Don Patrizzi now, who has an 0-1 count. He has walked twice, flied out to right, and hit a sac fly. Also came around to score. Or actually, he singled and came around to score on a sac fly, rather.
And we know the Bucks are now 3-1. Mat-Su trying to join that club, stay atop the ABL standings. The Bucks would, in that case, have the tiebreaker due to their victory last night against Mat-Su. But we know that the Miners are going to be looking for revenge. And with that only being a one-run loss, I think Mat-Su can take a look at that game and say, hey, if a couple things go differently, we could be the ones in the driver's seat here in the ABL. And I'm sure that the inevitable rematch is going to be incredible.
Yeah, these teams are going to play against each other a lot more times this season, as that's a swing and a miss to bring the count to 2-2 on Patrizzi. And that's not even counting the postseason, where the Miners will almost certainly feature. Four of the 5 teams in the ABL are guaranteed to make it there. Shugiak Eagle River did not make it there this year, or last year, excuse me, and judging by how they've started so far, it's going to be an uphill battle for them to return in 2024, but that's neither here nor there. That's into left field down for a base hit past the diving glove of Petey Soto. Don Patrizzi's got his second hit of the game. A leadoff single here in the bottom of the 8th.
Nice work by Patrizzi that time. Good piece of hitting into left field, and nice diving effort by Soto, just unable to come up with it. And that's what Patrizzi's so good at, is those shots into the gap. He specializes in those kinds of hits, and he does it once again. Already had a double earlier on today and now gets a single here.
Ryan Richard has singled, been hit by a pitch, flied out and grounded out. Now he bats with a man on. That was the first hit surrendered by Seth Bauer. Or Bauer. I'm not entirely sure if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, but anybody in the chat knows. I'd love to hear it. 1-0 coming. Right down the middle for a strike.
Nice breaking ball that time from Bauer, whatever his last name.
I'm going with Bauer.
Is pronounced as. We're going to go with Bauer, but very nice breaking ball that time and perfectly found the zone.
Got jammed into foul territory, laying out and making the catch. What a play that was. Right on the corner of the camera angle. The first baseman, Zachary Ferris, had to slide into the gravel, put his body on the line to make the grab, and he did so. One away here in the 8th.
My goodness, what an effort by Ferris that time. Like we've said before, get on the Ferris wheel. That was unbelievable. He had to go all the way to the gravel. I didn't know why he was running after it at first. I thought surely this ball's going to land outside, but he managed to track that thing down. What a play. That's why you show maximum effort on every play, because you never know when something like that may just happen.
Pitch 1 goes outside to Nick Ferry, who has had a rough go of things. A strikeout looking, a strikeout swinging, a pop-out, and a sac fly. Did drive in a run back in the 6th inning. Don Patrizzi, after that 2-run double he had. Now 1-1 on the man from New Jersey, with one of his countrymen on first base.
Do want to remind folks that tomorrow we will be on the radio, 100.9 Classic Country here in Palmer, Alaska. We'll be doing our radio interview. You can catch that at 8 a.m. tomorrow, Alaska Daylight Time. We'll be talking Mat-Su Miners baseball, so even though there's no game tomorrow, catch us on that. We'll update you on the latest and give you the rundown over the past week action.
I believe we might actually be on a little earlier than that. I think 7 correct. We will be doing our little. We did a radio show actually the first night the second night we were here, just introducing ourselves. But now we'll have a lot of action to talk about, because what a crazy week it has been for the Mat-Su Miners.
Yeah, crazy 4 games, and Mat-Su hopefully going to be 3-1 after this game comes to a finish. But we've had a great week of baseball.
That's hit into right center field, gets down for a base hit. So second single of the inning, Nick Ferry is on for the first time. Second hit surrendered by Seth Bauer.
Yeah, nice work by Ferry that time. Good piece of hitting right up the middle. Haven't seen a lot of center field shots today from Matsu, but that was a great example of it. Nice work by Ferry, 2 runners aboard, and now we'll see what Brandon Durand has in store.
Now Ferry breaks out of his slump, and if there's one other guy that could use a hit right here, it would be Durand. He is also 0 for 4. It is Bauer, I see. Clarification in the chat. Seth Bauer. Glad we were able to get that one right. Strike 1 comes in to Brandon Durand. And now a big cut. Runners on first and second in the bottom of the 8th. Miners looking to pour it on a little bit.
Keep an eye on Worthgen as well. We've seen a couple times him be able to get out runners on a pickoff move, so we'll keep an eye on that. But now it looks like he wants to talk to his pitcher.
Worthgen and Bauer going to have a little meeting of the minds. The Miners scored 8 runs in their debut game down in Chugiak, then scored 9 and 9 in the ensuing 2 games, so could possibly be going for a season high of 10. That was the winning score in last night's affair with the Anchorage Bucks, but it did not belong to Matsu.
Yeah, in total, a combined 33 runs already for the Matsu Miners in the first 4 games alone.
That's hit well out to left field. Ranging on is Bryce Berkey, and he's able to make the catch. Runners are going to stay where they are.
That look like they're heading towards home plate do not quite go that way. That looked like a home run for sure, and unfortunately just didn't quite have the distance, but it looked blistered the first time we saw it.
As the season goes on, we'll get better at identifying those off of the bat from the vantage point we have. Christian Perez will bat now. He's had a much better day. He has singled twice, lined out to the pitcher, and also reached on an error. And he hits that well into right center field, coming on the right fielder. He's not going to get to it, though. That's going to drop. 1 run is going to score. Going into third is Ferry, and he's going to be out. So that is going to end the inning, but 1 more runner comes in. The Miners tack on an insurance run, and they are 3 outs away from a 9-2 victory to close out this homestand. You're watching the Matsu Miners on YouTube. Stay right with us. Outs to go here at Herman Brothers Field in Palmer, Alaska. The Matsu Miners with an 8-2 lead over the visiting Peninsula Oilers. Charlie Fellows and Dylan Simmons have been on the call so far today, and to close out this 6-run cushion, the Miners have made a pitching change. Dylan, talk to me about Drew Kanan.
Drew Kanan from Dartmouth. He's a freshman out of Park Ridge, Illinois, 6'3", 210 pounds. He had a 4.38 ERA this past year. 1-2 record, 24 2/3 innings pitched, 23 strikeouts, and 2 saves so far. He has got a season-high 4 innings pitched against Penn, 4 strikeouts against Pomona Pitzer, and is in the top 5 of most pitching stats on the team. He also loves to make his own stuff on the grill, and he loves chess as one of his favorite hobbies.
Interesting. I played some chess in my day, and I've lost handily to everyone who's really good at it. Not played a game in a very long time, so.
I played chess back in my middle school days. There was a chess club in the high school, and they'd let me tag along because my mom was the teacher, and they would have chess club in her room. So I'd be like, hey, I want to play some chess, and so I did.
It's a fun game.
It is.
Pitch 1 goes outside to Colin Robson, who has had himself a game. He's walked, doubled, and hit a home run. Also has a stolen base. He's been a very, very, very bright spot in what has otherwise been a pretty dull performance in the season opener for Peninsula. He is someone they are going to have to make their centerpiece.
Yeah, in terms of power hitting, nobody better on this Oilers roster than Robson so far. He is showing out in a big way today. And now we've got ball 3 already from Kanan, so he might have an opportunity to get back on base.
3-0 from the right. Can't afford it. You remember in that opening day matchup against Chugiak Eagle River, that was en route to being an 8-0 win before a run was allowed in the first. A gentleman's 8-0 victory, you could say. Colin Robson aboard via the walk. Just the second walk issued by a Miners pitcher in this game.
Yeah, that's been one of their biggest strong suits across their 4 pitchers now in this game, is the fact that they've all been very, very good at avoiding giving up walks, and that's been a huge difference from today to yesterday, like we've talked about so much. And I think that's something that Coach LeBrun and this staff are going to take a look at in the postgame and talk to their players. Hey, you notice something different about today's game? We didn't give up as many walks. That is how we find ways to win games, is not making our own mistakes.
1-1 on Elijah Vogelsong Lewis, who has singled, struck out, flied out. And he takes a big cut on that one. Kanan not in line to get a save here, but this is the first action he's seen for Matsu today. The Miners getting a feel for who they have in their bullpen, who they can trust to put in big spots. So this is an important appearance, even not in the immediate sense.
Still important for getting reps, especially here early on in the season, making his first appearance for the Miners. So you definitely want to get that underneath you, kind of get back into the rhythm as well. It's been a while since he's pitched, so kind of about getting back to form, so to speak.
Full count here on the Park Ridge, Illinois native. Not from New England, but goes to school there, so I'll accept him as one of my own, as that's a strikeout swinging. Vogelsong Lewis goes down on strikes for the second time.
Yeah, he's been very aggressive at the plate, and Kanan taking advantage of that, getting a swinging strike and a strikeout here, his first as a Matsu Miner. So we'll see if that's the first of many. I'm sure it will be.
Now we enter a duo of players who have not really done much so far today. Zachary Ferris, broken bat, single down the first base line. Won't be much trouble for Ferry. Advancing to second goes Colin Robson. That bat shattered, and one of the pieces actually went out into the field almost like a projectile. But it wasn't enough to trip up any of the fielders. So Robson advancing on the fielder's choice. Zach Ferris out for the 4th time.
Yeah, that was a very, very odd-looking breaking of the bat. It actually, like you mentioned, went right into the field of play and snapped basically clean in half. So that tells you just how hard the pitches are for Drew Kanan right now.
And the other half of this duo is Bryce Berkey, who has struck out, flat out, and popped out. Takes ball 1. He is the final out, the last chance for Peninsula to advance Colin Robson at second and make this at least a little bit more respectable. Kanan fires. That's right down the middle. Just as a reminder, after the game, you'll want to stick around. We're going to go to a break screen for a little while, but that doesn't mean the broadcast is over. We will have a member of the Miners team up into the press box to talk with us about how this game went, what went right, what changes paid off after the dispiriting loss that happened last night. We are sure they'll have a lot to say. So you'll want on a nice clean 8-2 home win to end this homestand. The Matsu Miners move to 3-1 on the season. Peninsula Oilers start off the season 0-1. They'll stay on the road as they are 4 hours away. They'll be facing off against some Anchorage teams coming up and trying to fix some of the defensive issues they had in this game. A feel-good win after a disappointing loss by the Miners, and that will delight the home crowd that came out in droves here today. With Dylan Simmons, I'm Charlie Fellows, and this has been a pleasure to bring this game to you. But just as a reminder, we aren't going anywhere. Just stick around, and we'll have another guest in the press box right after this. You're watching the Mat-Su Miners here on YouTube. Well, for those who have stuck around, we've got quite a treat for you. I'm joined now in the broadcast booth by Christian Perez. Christian, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm great. I loved watching you guys win this game. It was a great change of pace after what happened last night. Can you tell me a little bit about the messaging after? I know that was a really tough loss you guys had yesterday. What kind of things did the coaches tell you?
They just wanted us to go out and just play as a team because we didn't really show that yesterday, and today we proved that today, and hopefully we can move on with that forward, you know?
What kind of adjustments did you guys make in terms of strategy decisions between that game and this one?
We wanted just to try to find ways to get on base and just keep on scoring, you know? We just wanted to get base runners and keep moving them on, just have team at-bats, and it worked out pretty well today.
You had a great day yourself. You had 3 hits, also reached on an error. How is it feeling? You starting to adjust to being in Alaska, a new place?
Oh, it's nice. I love it a lot. The weather over here is it's a lot better than AZ for sure because it's pretty hot over there. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. Everything's just amazing about this place.
What has that transition been like?
Oh, it's been awesome. I have a great host family, great roommate. It's been awesome.
All right, well, that's great. We'll be back in action. The Miners will be on Tuesday after an off day today. Christian, thanks so much for talking to me.
Yes,
until next time, to everyone who has stuck around with Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons, and Christian Perez joining us in the post-game interview. You've been watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball here on YouTube. Have a good one.